Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here. Hopefully, everybody had themselves a really good weekend. Mine was nice and quiet. Of course, we had Mother's Day. Actually, for a lot of you, I guess it is Mother's Day. Um, but it is gorgeous day now. So tell me about it in the chat. What did you guys do for your Mother's Day? Of course, I'm here in Japan. My mother's already passed, and yeah, we kind of focused on my wife's mother. But nevertheless, I'm going to go over here and hit that like and share button. Hopefully, you guys will do the same. And we're going to get into talking about, all the craziness of the entertainment world these days, as we always do. And there's definitely some crazy things to talk about. But today I titled it "Death Throes" for a reason because it feels like things are starting to come to a head. And if that's true, then we might start getting more and more, normal things back. Isn't it interesting that we just want normal? But we'll see. It's been saying it's going to get worse before it gets better for quite a while, and I don't know. I don't know that it gets much worse. I think we're starting to see some real pushback, and like I said, just getting back to normal and the absolute runaway success that is the Super Mario Brothers movie is certainly part of that, I would think. And I did finally get a chance to watch the movie. Uh, it is absolutely a kids movie, and that's fine. That's exactly what it should be, actually. Hopefully, it'll bring in some more kids into Nintendo, and that will continue because Nintendo's always been wholesome family fun, and this is why you're seeing a lot of people push back against Disney because that's what Disney's supposed to be. It's supposed to be for the kids, for the family, right? But they have got themselves stuck in this weird, twisted agenda that has nothing to do with children at all. I mean, at all. So this is definitely a problem for them. Excuse me. But nevertheless, it's like I said, things are certainly starting to hit the head, hit the, hit ahead, and we're seeing a lot of things absolutely blowing up. As far as the Super Mario Brothers movie, I thought it was cute. It's very simple. It's quick. It's like an hour and less than an hour and a half. And it's great for the kids. And there's a couple of jokes in there for the mom and dad too. But in general, it's for the little kids. It's very colorful, and that's great. Um, I think for me, the most interesting thing was probably Jack Black's song. It was just funny. There were a couple of chuckles in it, but it is very cute and pretty little movie, and I'm glad it's making all has all the success it has. And it's what near 100, 1.5 billion now. I mean, geez. So it's it is what it is, and it might it's there are probably some other movies that take mom to today that aren't that unless she's got a bunch of kids and it's probably perfect. Roger says, I have my mom. I gave, I guess you want to say, a big hug and a kiss. Told her that I love her and adore her and thank her. Thank you for giving me life. That's what I did for Mother's Day and a nice dinner after the show. After this show. Oh, that's nice, Roger. Um, you know, I haven't really. My mother did pass away. Ooh, what is it, a couple of years ago now. But and I hadn't really had seen my mother in a very very long time. But I do live on the other side of the planet. Although I did video chat with her occasionally, and she got to see my wife and kids grow up during that time. And she did visit us once in Hawaii, I do believe. But yeah, no, I'm older. But if you have a chance to do stuff with your mom, you certainly should. And Mother's Day is a great opportunity for that. Don't listen to all the negativity. I mean, it's been years of Father's Day getting a lot of crap, but now they started to attack the mothers, and I think that's pretty much the last straw, I would say. Which is ridiculous. Let people enjoy their families. What are you doing? But hopefully you guys were able to do some stuff with mom. I know when I was a kid, um, one of the things we used to do was make breakfast for mom in bed. We literally did that, and we often would go out for lunch or whatever you call that late lunch thing, usually for mom somewhere. There was this really I grew up in, well, it was all over the place, but I remember particularly when we were in Narragansett, Rhode Island, down there on the boardwalk on Pier Beach. There's a lot of old world buildings, nice stone, when buildings were pretty, other than what we make today. And there was about one of them down there, beautiful old world building, gorgeous building. And they they would do like brunches or late dinners or I mean late lunches or early dinner stuff for Mother's Day, and we went there several times. It was quite nice. It's a nice place, beautiful view, see the ocean uh, out the front windows there. It was really really nice. But every day is Mother's and Father's night, Chester. Uh, um, yeah, no, of course it is. I mean, obviously, parents are some of the most important people in the world. Obviously, we make everything go around and take care of the kids and try to raise them to be, you know, responsible citizens. And I know for some of you that might sound odd thing to say, but it's exactly what your job is. You're supposed to turn them into responsible citizens. They go out there and interact with the world in a positive way. And of course, we're seeing less and less of that these days, and that's not a good thing. So we need to show parents all the respect in the world, give them kind of a boost up, and say, hey, it's good being a parent. You need to be a good parent. You need to take it seriously, be responsible. We need to be promoting that instead of knocking it down, as is often the case. But yeah, no, of course, parents are very important. And hopefully you guys were able to enjoy your mothers in one way or the other today, and do things with them. I know, of course, my kids contacted my wife and said Happy Mother's Day as usual. Like I said, we gave some flowers and some stuff to her mom, but basically we just stayed home and we watched the Mario movie, is what we did, which was cool. I also watched that Megan, which is it's just another AI movie gone bad. It's, there's nothing new about it. It's the same thing we've seen. I guess they threw a little bit of, well, I don't know. Some people say Chucky, but I really didn't see much of that at all, to be honest with you. But other than the little kid, I guess. But it's fine. If you haven't seen Megan, go check it out. Maybe it's fine. You know, if you're an older person and have seen literally 1,000 AI gone bad movies, maybe you can skip it because it doesn't offer anything new. It's a good movie though. It's well made, but it's the same old thing. Then there was no interesting twists or anything like that. It would have been nice if they'd done something like, the had the child go on because the AI was trying to corrupt the child in a way. Spoilers, but it actually was trying to protect the kid, which is what its job was. But if they had the child go with the robot and actually finish off murdering the family, that would have been better twist. They would have had to know some script work before that, I think, but I think that would have been a better twist because what they did was so rote and so common. It's got a pretty high rating, and it's like I said, there's nothing wrong with the movie, but honestly, we've seen that before a lot. And of course, Mario movie, which I think is fine. It's for little kids. If you get little kids, then it's definitely pull that thing out or take them to the theater and check it out. It's a lot of fun. But that's about all I did. And simple weekend. Although it was a little bit irritating because I usually don't get irritated by any of the news or anything like that. I just have a laugh at it because it's fun. It's funny to see these idiots and the things they do. And of course, we're seeing more and more people agree with that. But I was a little bit miffed this weekend, though, because You guys know I'm a board game person. I have a large collection of board games. Not only do I collect them, I like to play them, of course. And there is a game called Wingspan, which I don't own, but from what I understand, I haven't played it yet, but from what I understand, it's actually an excellent game, an excellent board game. But the lady who made that game uh, came out. They had like a top 100 lists or something of or a top 10 list of greatest board game creators of all time or something like that. And she was very, very mad that there were so many white men on that list, even though there were non-white men and women as well. But she was just couldn't stand the fact that there were that many white men acknowledged. And what a dumb thing to say. The majority of people who make board games are white men. I mean, and if you want more, go out and promote women and your whatever you consider a minority. But you're going to sit there and badmouth these people that have made great games that millions of people have played. Uh, they didn't bring any agenda into their creation. They're just making fun family things. But you have to bring it. And I just thought, this is seeped into every this identity politics is seeped into every industry in the world. Of course, we know this, but I mean, board games. I mean, come on, that is a family thing. That is not male or female in general. That is just a family activity. But yet they have to bring their nonsense into that as well. I mean, come on, it's. But then again, we see what happened with Disney, I suppose. It's and that's you would have never expected that would happen when I was a kid. No way. But beyond that, I do have a bunch of stuff today. Thundera won't be in today, so if anybody wants to jump in here and chat with me, that would be much appreciated. But I'm going to go over here and take a look at some of the stuff I got prepared for today, though. So let me bring this up just in case. Go here. Alrighty. All right, so let me pop this up real quick. Now, today I want to start a little bit with some, I think, pretty good news. Mel Gibson is going to direct Mark Wahlberg again in a new film, A Flight Risk from Lionsgate. Now, Mel's gotten himself in some trouble because of, he drinks too much and he speaks his mind and he says some things he shouldn't say. I suppose. Some of it I definitely don't agree with, but what have you. If we didn't watch people in Hollywood who said dumb things, then we wouldn't watch anything, would we? I mean, that's really the state of the world, isn't it? But me personally, I like Mel Gibson as an actor, and he's a really good director. Of course, the movie they did before together was called Father Stew, which I haven't seen that one. I need to go check it out actually, because I do like Mel Gibson, and Mark is always kind of just a fun actor. I mean, isn't he? He's not the guy that's going to win the Oscar or anything like that, but he's just fun, and I've seen him in a lot of things. Probably my favorite movie from him is The Big Hit, actually, which is a long time ago, but it was funny. He played this really soft-spoken, gentle assassin, which is weird. But this looks interesting. It also said here that he will return to director chair with Mark, upcoming movie Flight Risk, like I said, based on Jared Rosenberg's Blacklist script. Now, why is it blacklisted? I don't know that. He's going to be a pilot transporting an accused criminal to trial. So it sounds like a simple little thing. I really don't know about the blacklisting thing and what that's all about. It's going to be a suspense movie, of course. And it talks about some of the other things they've done, but I don't know much about why it's blacklisted or what it is. But I mean, it should be fun. I mean, you got Mark Wahlberg, who's always fun, and Mel Gibson's very capable. However, I did want to talk a little bit about Mark because he's been getting himself in more and more trouble recently because he is a devout Christian. He always has been. This is not a shock or a surprise. And he's been, as he gets older, which makes sense. He's been talking more and more religious, things, and of course, the Hollywood types and all of their ilk hate that with deep, deep, unabiding passion. So he's been getting himself in a lot more and more trouble. Um, this is when he was doing the first film, but Mark does actually talk about his Christianity quite a bit. And fair enough, why can't he? I don't know, but this may be something to look forward to. Like I said, Mel Gibson is an excellent director, and Mark Wahlberg is fun. Hello, Lorenzo. How you doing? Uh, there's one little bit of interesting news, possibly. You've heard that you've been greenlisted. Well, that's better than blacklisted, I suppose. But I don't know why this film was blacklisted, but for Mel, excuse me, for Mel Gibson to take a blacklist script and make it into a movie, yeah, that sounds like his personality. Absolutely. I saw him play Santa Claus in a movie a couple weeks ago, and it was hilarious. So you know, but Mel in general, everything he kind of touches is pretty good. But you know, he doesn't like this nonsense, and he'll push back as much as he can. But I thought we'd start out with something fun today, because that's potentially going to be a good time, because that's really what these two guys kind of go in for, entertainment, right? And it sounds like a Con Air type of thing. And that was a great fun movie. Of course, that had the legendary and most beautiful at the time, Nick Cage. So hopefully Mark can come up to that level. Uh, you know, but tell me about what movies you might be interested in, upcoming movies. I haven't seen too much. For me, a lot of times it's indie stuff or foreign stuff. Uh, I did enjoy the Dungeons and Dragons movie, for sure. But I really enjoyed that Finnish movie called Sisu, which is basically a Finnish Rambo. That was fun, and it seems to be getting a lot of good press. If you guys get a chance to see that, you should go check that out. And I saw recently. I ended up watching a bunch of Russian stuff for some reason. I don't know why. I just got on a Russian kick, I guess. But there are plenty of good indie things out there. So don't let the fact that you can't really go to the cinema very often dissuade you. And I've even heard people say that this incredible wave of bad cinema movies is intentionally done to force people out of the cinema and onto streaming services. Now, conspiracy theories are what they are, but if they're not doing it intentionally, they're certainly doing it unintentionally, aren't they? But then again, what service do you pick? I wouldn't go on Disney Plus. And the weird thing about Disney Plus is my daughter has gotten it a couple times. When there's something on there she wants to watch, and then she shares the pass with my wife, and my wife will be looking at something. But the thing I thought was weird about Disney Plus was they don't have their back catalog on there. Which why don't you? I mean, I know that server websites that put up movies like classic movies have thousands and thousands of them. So why not? Hold on a second, guys. Hold on a second. I got some problem here. Sorry about that, guys. Unfortunately, I have no one to pick up that slack. Just business stuff. I apologize. Anyway, what was I talking about? Movies, I guess. I can't remember what I was on about, but nevertheless, we definitely want to see some more. Oh yeah, streaming services. Yeah, but Disney Plus doesn't have its back catalog, which is weird because there's so many great Disney movies that came out way back when. So like the Love Bug and the Shaggy DA stuff. I mean, all there's so many movies back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s that they just don't have any of it. I mean, there's nothing on there. It's all new stuff, and which is fine. I mean, you should put that on there too. But why don't you have the old stuff as well? I don't get it. Like I said, some of the classic movie stuff I go to online, they have thousands of movies on them. I mean, literally thousands. So why can't Disney? I don't get it. You have all that content. That's the value of buying Disney Plus is to be able to see all the old stuff, but they don't put it on there. But then again, I haven't seen HBO Max, but if you compare Netflix and Prime, for instance, now Prime is full of a lot of crap. I mean, really low grade stuff. But there are thousands and thousands of videos on Prime compared to Netflix, which has a pretty small menu, to be fair. I mean, they have more on than the Disney Plus has, a lot more. But nowhere near what Prime has or some of those classic online channels. And so I'm like, what are they doing? What is Netflix? I suppose Netflix is a bit different because they have to pay for the rights for stuff. So I suppose that's a limiting factor for them. But Disney and their owned product, I don't get it. They were awesome, Lorenzo. I mean, there's lots of good, fun family things, and there is, I think you found the rub. It's family stuff. It's all very family oriented, and if you go to Disney Plus right now and look for family stuff, you won't find it, right? Because they're anti-family. I know it's insane. It's like crazy nightmare dream clown world stuff that Disney is anti-family right now, but they are. I mean, it just does. I mean, if you asked me, even a decade ago, if that was even possible, I'd laugh at you. There's no way Disney would be this way, but they are. Um, uh, uh, he says, Lorenz says, I believe Peter Simetti's The Chair was on Prime. But did Peter make something? I didn't even know that. But Prime has got a huge catalog. A lot of it is because you're allowed to upload things to Prime, I guess, and a lot of it is some really, 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 really bad. I wouldn't even call it B, C level movies. There's just this incredible thread of them. To be fair, if you went over to say Tubi, which is a free thing, they have mostly horror movies, it seems, but they have I think, a more sophisticated collection than Prime does. But my point being is, particularly with Disney, and you have that incredibly gigantic, catalog, because keep in mind, they not only have their stuff, they've also along the while, they picked up Pixar, they picked up Marvel, they picked up Fox. They have the entire Fox catalog. Why is that not dumped completely onto your servers? I mean, come on, dude. They don't have to pay anything. They own all of it, right? They should have this huge thing. And now, if they want to pluck some of the gems out to occasionally roll out annually or something like that to get interest, now okay, that's fine. But there should be thousands of movies on there, and there aren't. I mean, Disney Plus is the smallest one. There's hardly anything on it. They do have their stars, I guess is that what they call it, which is kind of like an A&E thing that they put together for outside of America to show non-family things. But that's got a few things on it, I guess. But let's see. There was an adaptation of Samedi's comic book. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that's cool. That's cool. But like I said, Amazon Prime is definitely a place to put it because they'll kind of take anything. Let's move along here. Let's see. This is there's so many cool independent movies and web streams that the corporate conglomerates are becoming obsolete. That is true, Alonso. That is definitely true. There's plenty of stuff you can watch just on some streaming service like YouTube or something like that. Not a streaming service, but you know what I mean. And of course, you can go to some of the uh, classic or indie movie sites like they have in Finland that allow you to see things, and there's plenty of stuff, and you can go, of course, to support it. Horror movie world is still the movie world. It seems to be the least impacted by all of this for some reason. Knock wood, but those people just love simple fun, I guess, with horror movies. But anyway, let's move on here. Elon Musk appoints World Economic Forum Executive Chair Linda Yaccarino as new Twitter CEO. Now, this has caused a lot of buzz because the WEF, the World Economic Forum, is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. It was created, I think, when I was a year old, 1971, I believe. And these are the guys that want you to eat the crickets, and they want to get rid of all the cows because cows are causing global warming, and all of the nonsense. You will own nothing and be happy, guys. The 2030 reset, and you know these are the ones that openly speak about it and want to basically be your emperor is what they want. And people hate the World Economic Forum for very, very good reasons. And so it is a strange choice. She's definitely on board with it. She has praised her boss's, identity politics agendas on many occasions. She is a chair, actual chair of World Economic Forum, and it's befuddling a lot of people why she would be put in by Elon because it's like you get rid of woke stuff. He did a good job on it, and then you're just going to put another woke person in charge. Of course, the reality is a lot of these top end people aren't actually woke. They're just using it for their own devices. And maybe Elon understands that. But of course, this has caused a lot of controversy with people. And of course, you got his announcement here. Now he's going to be overseeing product software and system operations. Now, one of the things that Elon wants to do, and he's been saying this from the beginning, is he wants to turn Twitter into what he calls X, whatever. But what he wants it to be is kind of this everything. He wants to make it, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. He wants it to be everything in a one-stop shop type of thing is what he wants. And that's what he's going forward with. And of course, he keeps calling it X, not Twitter. He wants to change the name. I don't know if that's a good idea. Facebook changed themselves to Meta, and it's just dumb. It hasn't helped them at all. But this is what Elon wants to do. Of course, Carl Schwab is Klaus Schwab is the one who created the WEF, by the way. But we know he's an absolute, these Germans, they can't get away from themselves, I think. But nevertheless, this is the lady he wants to put in charge, and more than likely, Elon saw something as a person who could just manage it at a high level and deal with it. And maybe that's, she's exactly what he needs. I don't know, but boy, the pushback has begun. There's a lot of interaction with people very upset with this decision, and I understand why because the WEF is is the enemy. They are the enemy, without question. But and a lot of people are getting very upset with him. And I don't think this is going to go away. Elon needs to understand that people have got to the point that they're really starting to, lean into these boycotts or pseudo boycotts and things like that. So it's yeah, and his response was economic enema en route, which is he always makes jokes about things. He's always joking. But this could potentially be a problem, a perceived problem. She might actually be the perfect choice. It's very unlikely that she believes in any of this stuff. Like I said, it's all about money and control for these people anyway. So I don't expect that she actually will, uh, 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 you know, be that on board for it in that regard. So maybe she's a good choice. And a few people have said they'll wait and see, and they trust Elon's judgment on this. We'll see. Like I said, he really wants someone that's just going to do the day-to-day operation, and he wants to turn Twitter into his X. So I don't know how this will all go over, but it is a weird choice. I mean, he literally could have chose anybody. He could have went to any kind of mid tier company and hired a manager out of it to do that job. I mean, all you need is someone to just manage the day to day, and any mid tier manager, good manager in any company could have done that, right? We don't need this connected person who praises equity and wants the world to burn. It's not a great choice. So what? Why did he do this? But then again, Elon lives in a very different world than we do, and he's been in that world for a very, very long time. But also keep in mind that Elon is clearly extremely autistic, so that could play in his favor or against it, I suppose. Yeah. So yeah, maybe you're right, Roger. I've just I haven't done anything with my Twitter. When I had it before, I never really used it. It's just kind of every time I do a show, it pops on Twitter. I use it to for people to vote on the Drone Recorded Ultimate Edition, but I don't really interact with Twitter very much. I didn't do anything before. I didn't cancel it whenever it was canceled. I just let it sit. And then now that Elon's got it, I haven't done anything either. I just kind of waiting and seeing where it goes. Because I don't really care about SNS stuff. I don't interact with it hardly. The only SNS I use is Line. Do you guys have Line over there in the West? I don't know. Is this exclusively a Japanese thing? I don't know. But I use Line, and that's simply because I can communicate with my kids and I can communicate with my students as well. And I just like when I had to pause here, unfortunately, I just got a call from my wife regarding a new student thing. So that's the only one I use. So I don't need anything else. I don't have a phone. I do have a tablet which I use in my classroom, so I need a large screen, and I can make basic lessons off of the tablet, right? But I don't have a phone itself, so I communicate with 4E or Wi-Fi via the line, and that's how I communicate. So. But anyway, this is interesting. We'll see how this develops. The one thing we do know about
Sir, I don't know if we have that over here.
you don't know. Okay, yeah, I
Hi,
haven't heard anybody talk about it. I think it's just here in Japan. But Japanese are like that.
and how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. The Japanese are like that. They kind of want to do their own thing. They don't care about others really. Like they bought
Yes.
Yahoo, and when's the last time you heard of Yahoo?
I
I mean, seriously, right? Because they don't.
kind of wish they would do something with Yahoo.
Yeah, but they don't want to though. It's for the Japanese. Right? It's
Sure.
not for you really. And that's just how the Japanese are, and that's fine. Yeah, no, he said that Roger said, yeah, line is Far East thing. Okay, all right.
Right.
But how are you doing, Grimlock? How was your mom's day?
I'm doing all right, actually. Just spoke to her a little while ago after she got off of work. So things are going all right for the moment.
That's good. That's good.
Hope everything is going well. And I agree with you a bit on the subject at hand. Even though optically you couldn't have picked a worse person.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
If you're gonna just talk pure optics, everything that Elon Musk says that he cares about, she is the complete antithesis of that. Like, if I'm using that word correctly,
Yeah, no, antithesis meaning
she,
opposite. Yeah.
yeah, she, I mean, seriously, you could have named Donald Trump the CEO, and I don't think it would have caught in as much shit
No, I
as
agree.
this
Yeah.
announcement has. We all know how much these libtards just love them some Donald. So
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, even when I was young, because like I said, the WEF was founded in 1971, right? And even
yeah,
when I was younger, people have been pushing back against the WEF. I mean, since the beginning. I mean, you see riots and protests when they have their meetings and stuff, right? For a very, very long time, decades, and there's a reason for it. So it is a very weird choice. But then again, one thing we've noticed about Elon is he does listen and he does adjust things. He's not, this arrogant guy that sits back and says, "Shut up, peons." He doesn't do that. He does listen. So,
well, he did
you know,
say that he was gonna have a space with her present, and they'll be taking questions. And I'm pretty sure it's gonna be brought up early and often. And how they react to that is gonna tell a lot, because
yeah.
if there's a negative vibe coming out of that, whatever new Twitter is gonna be will be dead after that.
Yeah, no, no. I agree. This is a dangerous thing. To be fair, her job is really just the day to day, though. Right? She's
Yeah,
not in charge of making new rules. She's not in charge of overseeing the product or system operations. He is. He's in charge of that.
yeah.
She's just the
But
day-to-day boss, and so we're the few people on here that says, well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt here and see what happens. I'm kind of in that group, but I understand the anger, though.
yeah, well, it's I don't even it's weird because I don't know how much of it's anger, how much is like Elon seriously.
He
I
might just
mean,
be fucking with you, dude. You know how he is.
and yeah, and we also know he also makes some weird decisions when it involves women for some reason. I mean, every man has his weakness,
It's
and
true. It's true. Yeah.
I would say, for as intelligent as Elon seems to be, it seems, he gets a little goofy around the opposite sex.
He does,
Um,
and I kind of get that. I understand, especially because I'm not joking when I say he's autistic. He's clearly autistic. I mean, just go watch it to listen to him speak. Watch how he does. He'll often
yeah,
look up in the sky when he's thinking and talking at the same time. He's autistic, right? And
yeah,
those guys can have problems in that regard for sure, because they don't understand the fairer sex because they don't think like we do, right?
yeah.
Especially from an autist's point of view. But you know, we'll have to wait and see. But you got to keep in mind, Elon is a good idea man. He's really good, a real hard worker. He's really at pushing, getting deadlines done and things like that. He's great at those things. But when
Yeah.
he starts getting a little long in the tooth at the company always kicks him out of any kind of
Well,
decision making because he doesn't have any control over his expenditure. He spends way too much money on shit because he has a vision,
yeah.
right?
And visions ain't exactly budget conscious.
No, they're not. They're quite the opposite, right? And that's what Elon
Well,
is. He's an idea guy, like
well,
George
I
Lucas.
wouldn't. Well, I was gonna say, because you mentioned that you barely use Twitter for anything, and I'm somewhat in the same boat. Like, I've never really used, like, I know a lot of people who, they have a business or they're streamers or whatever, and they use, and Twitter is their day to day thing.
Hmm.
Like, I didn't even now, like, I haven't even cared enough to go back to see if I could get my old profile back, because I got permabanned for calling Trevor Noah a talentless coon and an ass kisser.
Okay. Well,
Um, well,
you're not
technically, I
wrong, but
didn't call him that. I didn't call him that. I referred to him as that, and somebody said somebody apparently said that incited violence.
I'm sure it does.
Funny because I,
I'd
I
be
I
upset if
got
you called
called
me a
coon up
raccoon.
plenty of.
I'm not a raccoon. I'm
But the
much
funny
more
thing
like
is,
a possum.
white liberals had no problem calling me a coon up there for years, and they got no punishment. But I called an actual coon what he is, and
Yeah, no, I
what it
get it.
is, what it is. But
Yeah, it is what it is.
I
Yeah.
will say that, but even then, like the only thing that I would say that since he's taken over, I enjoyed is that on another profile, I was able to find things that was actually I was my actual interest was easier to find. Like once he took over, for example, I found a bunch of Twitter profiles dedicated to sumo, and I'm like, where the fuck was this 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, they was probably lost in the algorithm,
Right. Yeah.
or whatever that algorithm was, because that's not what they
Well,
wanted me to find. But now
yeah.
found a
Algorithm was
bunch of them.
anything that was not men. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the algorithm today. Not men. That's the algorithm. Right. Like I started off today talking about a thing that miffed me a little bit this week because I usually don't get upset at all about any of this. I know what's going on. I've read history.
I,
This is
I
not
missed
new,
Miss
right?
Chester.
Yes. What? Well, no. Well, no. The thing
I
that
missed
miffed me,
I missed the myth.
you did miss a rant, yes. No, it was regarding board games. I mean, this incredibly
Um,
non-gendered thing. It's family fun, right? Has nothing to do with men or women at all. It's a family activity, right? But this lady who created a really good game, a very popular game, is complaining that there's too many white men have created board games over history, and it's like, yeah, and who cares? They certainly didn't think about the maleness when they made those games. Obviously, because I played a lot of them. They're just family things. But she cares. She cares that there's far too many men have made great games. It's that's her attitude. And it's like, really, lady? Not only are you sexist, but you're racist as well. Good job. And I do believe she is a white woman, by the way.
one of the things that I don't say it angers me, but it just has me look at them like, okay, your argument is there was too many white men who made board games,
Yeah,
but you're missing the point, bitch. You're supposed to be selling me your board game. How
yeah.
does that make me want to buy your game?
It doesn't, and they don't understand that, and that's why
Yeah,
they fail. No, that's why they fail. You're supposed to be
because
promoting yourself, but they don't do this. They promote an ideal. No, you're
I mean,
100% right.
if you're gonna shit on their board game, you shit on and be like, hey, you want to play a board game that's actually fun? That's where I would go with it. Say, hey,
No,
you want to play something that's actually fun, where you can actually customize your characters or whatever your gimmick is in this board game. You sell the if you're gonna shit on the other people, you do it by selling your gimmick.
hmm
And it's like, oh, there's too many white men who made board games. Okay,
yeah, and
and
that's her
what makes
argument
me
too.
want to buy your?
It's a historical argument that she's making.
It's
Um,
it's
it's
kind of
really
like when I
silly.
go on Kickstarter and I see here's this comic by black creators, and you read the description, and it's like black 15 times in the description. It's like, okay, so what's the comic about? It's a comic of like black creators with black artists and black editors. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but what's the fucking comic about?
Yeah, no, and that's one
Yeah.
thing that the Milestones guys did pretty well. They didn't harp on the blackness much. They
Like
all were black
the
characters.
original one,
Yeah, the original ones.
that new one.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. Back in the day.
Yeah,
But yeah, they were like, of course, all their characters are black because they're black guys making black heroes. Okay, but they just made superheroes, and they were fun. I love Static Shock. Icon's pretty good too. But
that's another thing.
Static
McFarlane
is,
Toys. We need an icon action figure ASAP.
yeah, no, that'd be good. That'd be good. And that's a little bit of foreshadowing, by the way. We're going to get to that a little bit later. But yeah, no, that game that she made is called Wingspan. I
Hmm.
like I said, I haven't played it, but it's very popular. It sounds like it's a really solid board game she made. fun. A lot of board games, some of them can get a little bit more male oriented or a little bit more female oriented occasionally, but in general, they're right down the middle. I mean, they're for families. I don't know about these days, but when I was a kid, and with my family, Wednesday night was board game night, right? And every member of the family during the month would be able to pick their game that they wanted to play. Now, back in those days, we didn't have much choice because it was all just American stuff. But then in the 90s, they started bringing German stuffs in, and then boom, the golden age began, right? But still, it's about the vast majority of games I own are right down the middle, fun family things. I play them with the kids at school all the time, the shorter ones, and the kids love them.
Mhm.
Bruno Cathala is one of my favorite creators. I don't know if he falls into the category because he's a man, but he's not white. Well, I don't know. Do they consider Italians white now? They probably do.
It depends on what day it is. It's kind of like
Yeah,
Jews. One day
yeah.
they're white, and then the next day they're oppressed.
They're oppressed. Yeah,
It depends on what day white liberals need to make their bullshit arguments.
right.
Um,
It's true. Well, Asians are
yeah,
white now. They fall in the same category, so
yeah.
okay.
Well, I'll throw this by you because you have more game. You have more board games because
I do. Yeah.
they're bitching about men playing these board games. But if people thought about it, it also comes down to men and women are different, and we do things differently, including communicate. And for a lot of men, that's where they go. It like women can huddle up and just sit around and chit chat. Guys, a lot of guys don't do that, especially
No,
like you said, a lot of guys who may be autistic or special needs, they don't communicate in traditional ways, but
right.
board games give them somewhere where they can actually socialize where they
They do.
otherwise wouldn't.
They do. That's
So,
true. No, and my point is, a lot of those board games that they will congregate around, you could throw on the table with the wife and the kids at the same time, right? And
yep.
everybody can enjoy it. And but that is true. But it also falls into a category of things that's more male thinking in the creation process anyway. Like when you're talking about like model kit making, right? Model kit making is probably the most male thing you could possibly find. I mean, I don't know because you go watch football, you go to your Sunday game party, women will be there cheering along, right?
Hmm.
Model making is so male. I don't know that I've ever seen a female involved. There must be. There must be. But it's so male oriented, and I think board game design falls into that same category. Not the playing of it, but the designing of it. It's a
Hmm.
very analytical thing, right? You have to number crunch everything you do. You don't just say, "I got an idea. Let me put this together and do this." It doesn't work like that. You have to balance the math. It is all math based. And sitting down and crunching those numbers over and over and over, and doing that to be able to create a game that will be successful. I mean, you could throw any game you want out there, but there are thousands and thousands of games that suck, right? But the ones that are good are mathematically strong. And that just is simply something men sit down and do. It's not a matter of the fact that women can't do it. It's just they're not interested in doing that. There's hardly any women
Yep.
that are interested to sit down and do that. It is boring from their point of view. Where a man will geek out over that for frickin' months. It's just
Hmm.
how we're built. So it's not surprising at all that nearly all board games are made by men, because it's mathematical. When you get into, say, writing, writing a novel or short stories or scripts or whatever, you're going to see more balance. You're going to see, it probably is majority male, but you are going to see a way higher percentage of females involved in that because that's a creative process. It's not the meticulous nature of balancing mathematics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but whatever, she's just being stupid, and it's going to hurt the sales of her game. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that these sycophants don't understand is a lot of women in this world have sons,
Yep.
lots of them, and they
Well, they're
want the best in the world for their kid.
well, no. Now they're trying to engineer them into being daughters.
Well, a very small percentage. The majority of women are extremely protective of their sons, too much so.
Yes.
Right. No, I'm just saying that's why you're getting this pushback is because they moved away from yelling at us, and the women were happy to sit back and let that happen, right? But now that they're starting to
Yeah.
come after the children, now the women are starting to get involved, right? So you know. But yeah, Roger, I actually have used Telegram. I use Telegram to see what's going on in other parts of the world, like say what's going on in Ukraine or Russia or places like that, because Telegram doesn't seem to monitor anything. You can put anything you want on there, and people will talk freely, and therefore it's a little bit easier to look between the lines and to try to find the truth when everybody can say whatever the hell they want to say, you're going to get a lot of nonsense, right? But it makes it way easier to see where the truth is. Whereas when everything is being couched or controlled, it's harder, right? So Telegram is actually quite useful.
Hmm.
Yeah. Have you ever
I've
tried it?
never even considered. Nope.
Yeah, no, it's
I
it's
don't
a
use a
it's a
lot of. I don't use a lot of these apps.
oh no, Telegram's the Wild
I'm
West, dude. Without
I'm I'm,
question.
I'm in that curmudgeon stage of my life.
Oh, fair.
It's
Yeah,
like,
fair enough. Uh, but um, but yeah, no, I do use Telegram for that regard, especially what's going on in the war-torn regions. It's a little bit easier. It's because it's hard to get information in those situations, right? But here,
yeah,
Telegram, you can see the Ukrainians' propaganda, you can see the Russian propaganda, you can see everybody else's propaganda, and like I said, it's a little bit easier to see the truth in between all the nonsense. But
yeah,
yeah, but the good thing about Telegram as well is they'll give you information on what today. The Russians, this camp got blown up, or you'll see actual information of things happening day to day, and it gives you a much better understanding. Now, to be fair, the Russians rarely ever lose anything, but they do, and you'll see that
yeah.
pop up. But the thing is, I don't want to get onto that topic, but the thing with Russia is Putin is slow rolling this as much as he can because he understands exactly what they're trying to do. But unfortunately, it's getting to the point that the Russian people are really pissed, and the Russian people
Yeah.
want to basically blow up Europe, is what they
Be
want.
done with this.
They want to be done with it. And to be fair, it's been going on centuries. This is nothing new. Putin's the only one calling for peace, really, and the one that's slow rolling it because he understands what the West is doing. It's quite. I'm surprised he didn't. I'm a bit surprised by old Putin. I expected him to lose his patience 6 months ago, to be honest with you. But he hasn't. So, good on him, I guess.
So,
But so far,
question.
yeah.
I because I'm pretty sure you heard about the whole Donald Trump town hall thing,
Oh yeah, it was hilarious.
and they mentioned Ukraine, and he said he would have gotten that taken care of. Do you think he could have gotten it taken care of?
Yep, without question. Yeah, because
Because
Putin and the Duma with him have been calling for a peace treaty since the 30 or 45 days in. They've been calling for it, and Donald would have made that happen, sat down, and there would have been a peace treaty already. Can he do it in 24 hours? Maybe, but Donald exaggerates. But could he get it
yeah, well,
done?
we know that
Absolutely.
part.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, he'd get it done though, because simple thing is the Russians want that. That's what the Russians want. The only reason why we don't have
Yeah,
peace in Ukraine is because of the Europeans, NATO, and mainly America. That's the reason. But his that was the best response he made in that town hall. was this stupid woman, or whoever the hell she is. I never even seen her before, but just going on, whose side you gonna pick? Who you picking? You're a Russian, right? You're with the Russians, right? That's what she was after, and he
And he
would
said the
not buy it.
side for peace. He
Yeah,
he
no,
owned that one.
no, he did. He owned all of it, because he made the right comment. I want people to stop dying. That's what I want, and
Yep.
that's the right response. Of course, you haven't heard. This is the interesting thing. I've been saying this all along. Now, keep in mind, before this war kicked off, I've been saying for years on this channel, why is no one talking about what's going on in Ukraine? I've been saying it for
Yep.
years, right? And uh, you have not heard a single person from Europe, Ukraine. Oh, well, you heard Zelensky say early on that someone yelled at him. But from Europe, NATO, or America, you haven't heard anyone use the word peace. Not once. Matter of fact, I think they've been given one of those little memos they get saying don't use this word because they've intentionally not used the word peace at all, right? How shocking is that? It's the first thing you say as a foreign country in regards to some civil war somewhere. Let's find peace, right? But no.
You would think so,
Yeah.
because war's supposed to be the last resort. So you would think.
You would think. Roger asked, since we're on the topic of war, what's the situation in Taiwan? Well, Taiwan and China, like I said, isn't going to change. China is not going to go into Taiwan, dude. I keep telling you that. They will economically try to destroy anything they can and take control of it because that's what they do. But they're not going to actually make a war move. I seriously doubt it. But the more interesting thing is going on with Taiwan is you actually have members of the American government. I'm not joking about this. This is real. That are coming up and saying that, well, if China does attack Taiwan, we'll just destroy the chip factories. Huh?
Yeah, because
What?
that's worked out so well during COVID. You dumb fucks.
But I mean, first of all, what are you doing? They're our ally. You don't go and bomb their shit. And of course, you think that isn't going to piss off Taiwan, which of course it did. But I mean, what a dumb thing to say. And honestly, when it came up on the stage, one of the people on the stage was trying to shut it down as quick as possible. But the guy just kept going on about it. He said, no, no, we're actually talking about it in committee. It's like, are you serious? I'll take my
Yeah,
ball
just
and
keep making
go.
it worse.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, starting to look like Taiwan's biggest threat is not China, it's America. Yay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now, do keep in
that's what
mind,
we need.
that's what we need. But just keep in mind, we already have 46 active wars on the planet right now. 46.
Hmm.
And America's involved in all of them one way or another. But we're directly involved in 9 of them. I mean, boots on the ground type of activity, right?
Yeah.
But geez, jackasses, dude. But that's the problem. Our government has been hijacked by morons who are warmongers. It's not the first time. Matter of fact, I'd suggest a little movie for you to watch. A little thing by Stanley Kubrick called Doctor Strangelove. Go check it out because it's exactly what we're
Hmm.
talking about right now, right? But then again, Kubrick, his whole thing is that I feel because I watched most all his movies. I think I've seen them all actually, and his whole shtick, I think, is somewhere in the time he read the Greek philosophers, and he read the story of Prometheus and Epimetheus, the brothers, right? And
Hmm.
I think it was Aristotle that said that the the only thing missing from that, because it's an allegory. It's talking about the creation of man and the idea, because Prometheus means forethought, and Epimetheus means not thinking at all, right? The opposite, just reaction, emotion, right? And Aristotle said that the only thing really missing from that would have made it a perfect allegory was virtue. And I feel that Kubrick read that, and therefore every movie of his is talking about the lack of virtue in every aspect of life he could come up with. And that's his whole shtick. He's a very good movie maker. He researches the hell out of shit. But everything he's putting forward, I think, is coming out of the Promethean myth, in regards to the lack of virtue and how virtue is essential, because otherwise humans are just nasty, destructive animals. I think that's Kubrick's whole point, right? But Doctor Strangelove is dealing because he tried to cover every aspect of human life that he could, and of course, Doctor Strangelove is talking about the foolishness of government and the excitable and potentially uneducated or unintelligent people that run our world. Is what he was mocking in that, but he does. I mean, even his thing, like say Barry Lyndon, which probably have you even seen Barry Lyndon?
I have not. I've
Yeah.
seen a while the Briscoe brother has appeared.
Oh, hello. But most people haven't seen that particular Kubrick movie, Barry Lyndon. I suggest you go watch it. It's impressive on many levels, but I won't do a big old dissertation on it. But what that one there particularly is talking about the lack of virtue of ambition, right? And desire, because that's
Hmm.
what the whole movie's about. It's about this poor boy, Redmond Barry, who goes through a serious things through his life, looking and constantly searching for, wealth and his ambition, and it ends up destroying him utterly in the end, right? And it's a great case study in self-destruction. But
Sure.
all his movies are dealing with this, and like I said, I don't know this to be true, but my opinion, I really think Stanley Kubrick read the classics and the Promethean myth stuck in his head. I really do. Because most people, when they talk about the Promethean myth, they talk about Prometheus stealing fire for humans. And that's not even really what he did. I mean, fire was
Right.
part of it, but I'll give it a quick little. I'll try to run it up quickly. Epimetheus, his brother, and Prometheus were put in charge by the gods to endow all the new life that the gods created with values so that they could be successful. And Epimetheus, who represents the lack of thought, where Prometheus literally means forethought, right?
Yep.
Because this is an allegory. Go figure. But Epimetheus said, "Oh, I want to do it, brother. I want to do it, brother. Let me give all the creatures their gifts that they will use to survive and thrive. Let me do it, brother. Let me do it, brother." And Prometheus, as always, was like, "Very well, brother," and let him go. Right. And do keep in mind, Epimetheus is the one who was desperately wanted to marry this new creation that Zeus had created called Pandora, even though Prometheus said, "Yeah, maybe you won't want to do that," but he didn't listen. hmm but
Mm.
nevertheless, once again, allegory. Epimetheus went to doing his thing, and eventually Prometheus kind of came around, just check on him, got to check on that irresponsible brother every now and then. And he found out by the time he came over to check that Epimetheus had given all the animals all these amazing skills and gifts and all this kind of stuff. It was amazing, but he hadn't got to humans yet, and there was nothing left to give. So Prometheus was like, well, that's not good. So he went and he stole wisdom and knowledge as well as fire to give to the humans. He represents in the Bible Azazel is who he represents, right?
It's
In the book of
it's funny
Enoch.
you mentioned the Bible, Chester, because what I was going to say when you were talking about how that movie you were talking about, blind ambition is basically a road to hell,
It
a
is.
living hell.
And he did a
Um,
good job showing it.
Jesus Christ himself said the exact same thing. What does it
hmm
profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
Yep.
And that's what that means.
Well,
You have to have more than just ambition.
technically Saul said that, but okay.
Well, listen.
But that's why they had to get rid of Saul, though. They had to get rid of Saul, and that's why David was put in. It's interesting how much they praise David. And of course, keep in mind, David translates directly to meaning king. It literally
Yes,
means king. It's a word. It's a noun,
he's
right?
basically King Arthur for the Jews.
In a
Um,
way, yeah, yeah. But Saul, they had to get rid of Saul because Saul was way too good a man. He was a good man. They needed someone who was a little bit more. You could work with him. And David was a corrupt man, right?
he was such a good man that in the Bible, the man who came by and killed Saul, finished him off because he was laying there dying. He was going to take a while. He had like a stomach wound or something. Takes a long time to die from.
It
Some
does.
guy came by and mercy killed him, and God struck him down for it because he was such a good man because he
Yeah.
killed Saul.
Well, some would argue that Yahweh is actually the reason why Saul was killed. But anyway,
Well,
I, but anyway, but the thing with Prometheus and Epimetheus. So, um, Prometheus went and gave all these gifts to humans, including fire. Fire was the last of the list, by the way. But because fire was the essence needed to make all the other gifts, he gave them work. But the whole point of it is, and of course, Zeus had no love for humans whatsoever. He
hated
even
him.
tricked them with Pandora, and of course, Epimetheus was part of that as well. But my whole point of explaining this is when it comes to Kubrick. Kubrick, every one of his movies is looking into a degeneracy of being human, different
Yes.
angles of it, different versions of it. It's all about, whether it be drugs or alcohol or violence or politics or war or whatever it is. Every one of his movies is looking at this symptom of being human. I just
Mhm.
personally think that he read that allegory long ago, and it stayed with him through every movie he made. I just really think that's what he's doing. He's showing the lack of virtue and what happens when you don't have it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Stanley Kubrick. Uh,
Just so we're clear, my wife wants you to know that her nails are really cute. I just
oh,
got a message. You needed to know that, Chester. You
I
specifically needed to
well,
know it for some
I
reason.
I appreciate cute nails. I do.
She does them herself, and she actually really does do a fantastic job.
That's cool. I've never had that around me in my adult life. My wife is a mom, so
Hmm.
she never lets her nails grow long. She paints them sometimes, and my
Well,
daughter
hers
doesn't
aren't
seem to
real.
care either.
She does acrylics because
Oh, that's fine.
growing real ones, they just break too easy. Grow
No,
real
no,
long.
I imagine. But I'm just saying I don't know much about that because I didn't have that in my house. And here in Japan, a girl is not allowed to do nails or makeup or anything like that until she's 18. She's not allowed.
Yeah,
So, they don't do that anyway. But so I don't have much experience with it. And I don't really remember what my mom did. But my mom was crazy about the makeup. I know that. My wife, on the other hand, will sit and take about 10 minutes or so to do her makeup and done. And it's not much. Is your wife a heavy makeup person?
no, no,
Hmm.
no, no. She's not. She really doesn't even like to wear it if she doesn't have to. Um, because it's just a pain more than anything. You got to take it back off, and you get usually when they do their makeup for a lot of them, unless they're like working some business environment or whatever, they'll wear it for a few hours, and then when they go to bed, before they go to bed, they got to wash it off because otherwise their face can break out and stuff.
Yeah, no,
So
I
it's
can't
like,
imagine it's good for your face skin. I can't imagine. Yeah.
yeah, what's the point? Half most of the time, what's the point unless you're like ugly?
Yeah,
I
well,
guess.
even though, I mean, like my wife mainly puts a little color on her eye, and that's about it. She
Hmm.
doesn't really get into it very much. But I never understood these women are so worried about skin conditioning and beauty and all these things like that, but yet they cover their face with this chemical every
Yeah.
day. It's like it can't be good for you, dude. It can't be
No,
good for you. I've never looked at a study into it, but I guarantee you, it's got to be a negative. It's got to be.
I'd imagine.
Yeah. How about you, Grimlock? Do you like a heavy makeup lady or not?
No.
Fair enough.
Um, Italian. Well, my mom was never big on the makeup, and apparently Italian women in general don't are not known for wearing a fuck ton of makeup. So I guess it's an Italian thing. So
Maybe it depends on the generation, I'd imagine, but I don't really know. But I do know that I don't like tons and tons of makeup. I've never cared for it. But some dudes do. That's fine. But I don't. Most men I know don't really care one way or the other, actually. But
and
women care a lot. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
it's the Womans.
Well, dude, I see these things and these women complaining about how many hundreds of dollars they spend a month on makeup, and we men need to respect it. First of all, no. Okay.
Right? No one's making you do
No
that.
one's
That's your
making you do
decision.
that. Second of all, moron, why are you spending hundreds of dollars a month on makeup?
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Well, and also, Chester, I always go by the old adage I heard from my pastor growing up, and he said, because in some churches they discourage women from wearing makeup because it's vain.
It is.
But our church wasn't really like that. His rule was, if the barn needs painting, paint the dang barn, but don't make it into a billboard. That was his only rule. So
Interesting.
basically, don't turn yourself into a trollop, right? Don't look like
Right.
you're
Well,
trying to get a job at the dance troupe or something, right? Like
right.
you're auditioning for the stage. You don't need
Right.
that much makeup. Calm down.
Well, we passed that junction quite a while ago, buddy. Yeah. I mean, goodness gracious, the makeup I see on girls these days. Here in Japan, it's not as bad. If you get in the cities, you can get into little cliques that are a little bit crazy about it. But the Japanese girls just aren't crazy about it. And it's mainly because they really aren't allowed to do makeup until they're 18. So they get a
Hmm.
very late start on it. And as an adult, it's just more important shit, dude. Right? Um,
Probably why their skin's so lovely.
maybe, I mean, it's possible. But then again, from my point of view, Japan isn't the prettiest group of people on the earth anyway, right?
That's true.
They're just not. I mean, if you want to get into some gorgeous
Especially
humans, get into Vietnam, Southeast Asia, some of the Chinese, the Japanese certainly aren't.
especially the men.
Oh yeah,
Japanese men are a very ugly breed. Sorry,
they are.
Japanese men. I know. Listen, you're doing fine otherwise, but when it comes to aesthetically, you're not handsome. You're not a handsome people. I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah, no, they're
I don't
not.
make the rules.
But when you come
I
with
don't make.
like some of like the Polish and Romanians and down
Yeah,
into Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan
yeah,
and all the way into India and stuff, boy, you get some ugly looking people, man. I mean,
yeah.
and get, nothing against them, but they're not attractive humans. But
Well,
I'd say Southeast Asians are probably the most beautiful humans. They have a
you
very
think so?
elfish
Even more
quality.
so than the Vikings
Now, there's
and the
some beautiful
Norse?
people up there too. There are
Yeah,
absolutely.
they are.
But I think it's just because they're so small and elfish in their appearance.
Yeah.
But there are lots of beautiful men in Southeast Asia. I mean, very, very attractive men.
And for the right price, they could even be a woman for you if you'd like.
Well, in Thailand, yeah, in Thailand. Now it's interesting. The rest of Southeast Asia isn't like that, but Thailand actually has the Katoi culture, and they
Yeah,
have no problem with it, and it's been there for forever. It's not a new
yeah.
thing. It's not a new phenomenon. They've had three genders for centuries, dude, and no one
Yeah.
cares. No one cares at all. It's interesting.
Well,
Thailand.
it's
They're different
mostly
though.
they probably don't care because for the most part, it's in its own little place, right? Like it's not it's its own thing, right? Like it's in Thailand, like you said.
Yeah,
The
it's not in
rest of
your
the
face.
rest of that area is functioning normal society for the most part. They do have some weird things in Japan though, like the underwear vending machines in
Yeah,
Tokyo.
that is
That's weird.
bizarre. Yeah, there are a few
Uh,
weird things.
but other than that, for the most part, they're just they're normal people. It's funny to me how they try and make a normal functioning nuclear family situation, which is every functioning society on planet Earth since the history of ever has been based off of preserving the nuclear family unit. They try and make that as weird as possible now in the West, as if you're the weird one if you want to have a normal family. If you don't want to have a family full of a bunch of degenerates or homosexuals or whatever, or you just want a normal man, woman, children relationship, you're weird. You're off. What's wrong with you, you bigot? They call you all kinds of names now. But
Right.
everywhere else in the world, literally everywhere else where there's functioning society,
Mhm.
it's there's no like there's not even debate, there's not even
No,
discussion
the Thai would
because of
agree with
course
you
there's not.
100%. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Thai.
of
Yeah, they
course
would.
there's not
Yeah,
the discussion. It's
yeah,
just it's just so because the reality of it is, Chester, what they talk about. You say how it's not a big deal over there that there's that third gender. The
no,
reason it's not a big deal is because nobody makes it a big deal. It
right,
didn't used to be a big deal here either. Nobody cared. If you
right.
really honestly, no one really cared if a dude walked into a woman's restroom, as long as he wasn't in there shaking his thing in front of little girls or something. We just didn't. It
No,
wasn't
it's
that
not
big
like
a
it
deal.
didn't happen. Yeah, it happened, of course.
Yeah,
But yeah, no. But then again, to be fair, for the majority of Asia, they kind of just get along and just they do society as you're supposed to. It's
they're
not
civil.
they're not special. It's just normal. The
Yeah.
problem in the West is we just can't stay normal more than a decade or two.
Well,
Right.
our other problem is we have the Asians are much more sensible when it comes to long-term thinking
Oh yeah.
than Westerners are. And this is like you even said a couple weeks ago, we don't even know a half of our history, if not more of it,
Oh
because
yeah.
it's been erased so many times through wars and conquests and all sorts of shit.
Right.
Because we don't have that in us for whatever reason. The old European people, the white people, we don't have this need to hang on to the past forever like Asia does. Like Asia is ancient. Those people have been there forever and they know it. And a lot of them know their heritage and their name and all this stuff. It goes way back. And there's a reason for that. And that's a good thing. It's because, they have ancestor veneration and things like this, which we used to have and we've abandoned completely. But my point is, I think that's one of the main reasons that happens
Right.
is white people are too busy trying to be something that we forget to just be something. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Like Marcus Aurelius says, don't argue with yourself about what is a good man. Just be one.
Yeah.
Just be one.
That's right.
That's it.
Nike got it right. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. When you talk about history and stuff, it is very interesting. Asians know their history, but don't know it at the same time.
Yeah.
There's such an indifference to it. But like in the West, you have something that's gone on here in the past couple hundred years, right? Less than 200 years, actually. Um, there are hundreds and hundreds of photography that show old buildings because a lot of people used
Yep.
to like take picture of the buildings. Why not? We still do, right?
Pretty buildings.
And you got, of course, a lot of buildings in the past. They don't do it much anymore, or at least not in such a prevalent way. They will say anno, year of, and they'll
Hmm.
have the year next to it, right on like on the front of the building, right? Anno something like Anno 689, right, or 1689.
Yep.
And there are hundreds and hundreds of photos that show old buildings that still exist, and they'll have 689 in them in the 19th century, and today they have 1689, right?
Right.
Someone went and put a one. Okay. And this is one of the things that's got the whole Tartarian guys. They have a little bit more things to look at than say the flat earthers do. But I mean, it's one of those things that gets their gall up. And here's
Yeah.
the thing: why? I mean, we all know that the Romans and the Holy Roman Empire and the Greeks or whatever, we know that they were great builders. We know this. This is not a
Yeah.
secret. So why would you care that your building was built in 1689 or 689? Why would it matter? I mean, really, why would it matter? There's still tons
Right.
of buildings in Europe that we know are from the Roman era,
Yeah.
or the early Holy Roman Empire
Even in the Middle
period.
East
Yeah,
as
that
well.
still get
Like we
used
know it.
every day, right?
Yep.
We know this, so why, particularly in Europe, we see this a lot. Why is it important to put that one on there? Why does it matter?
I don't know.
That's the question. Who cares?
Well, it's kind of like it's funny because Adrian and I the other day, because me and him and our wives, we go for walks every now and again. Go for like an hour hike in parks around here, and we were talking about this because where we live, we have down in the south in southern Ohio, in central and southern Ohio, and all through that region, that valley, there's the Indian mounds,
Oh yeah,
the big giant mounds that were built, and there's legends, quote unquote, that in some of them are giant skeletons of giants. That's why they
sure,
won't exhume them.
yeah,
And I was like, I don't understand the giant thing because it's obviously something, but for some reason, mainstream science, whatever you want to call it, pretends it doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. You're a kook. You're a crazy person. No, don't look at all these thousands of pictures of people exhuming giant skeletons. Those are all fake. Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so weird. It's
It
the
is
same
weird.
thing. Why does it matter?
Why does it
Why
matter?
does it matter?
Especially at the same time, the anthropologists will talk about Homo gigantus,
Yep.
Denisovan, which are all over 2 meters.
Right.
Especially Denny Sylvans, they're big, big people. They'll freely admit and display the bones. You go to a museum and see them, and they'll talk about it like, oh, these are giant people. Da 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 da. What? That's okay. But yet the ones we pull out of back in the 19th century and early 20th century, they pulled they pulled
Yep.
hundreds and hundreds of those skeletons out. It's
Yep.
like, why do you care? We already know there were giant humans. What does
Yep.
it matter? And there's a lot of these kind of things. Why does it matter? Now, changing the number on a building in America, I get. See, I understand
Mm,
that. The Europeans, I don't get. The Americans, they doing it because they want to say we built this, and we
right.
own this. So I understand the politic and the money involved. I get all of that. But the simple fact of the matter is, a lot of the buildings in America were not built by us. They were here when we got. They were there when we got here. Now, a lot of them said that
Mm,
they were empty. If you go back and read the old, pioneer journals, which you can still find, they haven't expunged it, right?
mhm.
They talk about finding a foundation or finding a ruined building
Yep.
and they built upon it. Yeah, it's
Yep.
and the humans have always done this. But in the Americas, I get it. I understand why they want to hide that because they want to say, no, no, we own this. It was a wild place of just savage animals, and
Right.
we built this and we own it 100%. I get that. That's there's a political and economic reason for that. The Europeans, I don't get because
No, it doesn't make any sense.
we all know you've been there forever, right?
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, it's
whatever.
weird. It's one of those. Well, two of those, I guess. Weird things about like conspiracy theories, quote unquote, that are obviously something, but they pretend are not. Like we've talked about it on here, all the megalithic structures and things, and the intricately carved blocks that you can find all over the world that there's no damn way they did with a chisel and a hammer. Um, but yet we have to pretend because they refuse to accept that it could have been anything else. I'm not saying it
Yeah.
was laser beams, but it was something other than a copper chisel. There ain't no way you're cutting granite that smooth with
Oh
a
no,
copper
no, no.
chisel.
It's clear, but that has more to do with professors writing books and they
Yep.
that not want to lose their standing and their power. And as they get older and die off, we're seeing things change. So we're actually
Yep.
moving in a positive direction in that regard. But as far as the Americans go, I get it. And you got to keep in mind a lot of that work in the Americas was done by the WPA, who was created intentionally to, gain control of the public opinion, like 100
Right.
some years ago. And they don't hide it. You can go read their minutes and see their information. Matter of fact, there's a couple good books on it. But the WPA is involved a lot of that kind of destruction of old buildings and stuff across America, intentionally so to hide the past. And they don't
Yep.
they don't even really hide it very well. I'm not getting into that. Those Tartarian
One
guys.
one real quick thing on that though, just to back you up. I had a buddy a few years ago. We fell out of contact a long time ago, but he used to live up in New England, like around Massachusetts area, something like that. Or
Yeah.
no, New Hampshire area. And he liked to go out on his little bike. He had like a little moped thing, and he'd go out into the woods. And he said all over, it was
Oh yeah.
almost impossible to miss. You could find ruins of buildings that were definitely not built by Indians.
Oh yeah.
Somebody else built them, and they're old,
Oh, they are.
old, and they're just in the in the forests, and they pretend like
Yep.
they don't exist, but they're clearly buildings,
Yeah. No.
foundations of buildings and walls and things.
My home's the same. Rhode Island, especially down where I live, is full of Viking buildings. They're all over the
Yep.
place. They're all over. Yeah. And once again, they don't talk about it, but yet they'll admit readily that the Vikings were here. You know, more than 1,000, like almost 1,000 years before the supposed Columbus guy showed up, right? They'll admit that, oh yeah, yeah, they were definitely here, but they won't talk about all the buildings and stuff. And of course, we talked about Susquehannock a little bit before, and they're definitely a remnant of that. Yeah, no, there are things going on in America that's very different in your history. Once again, the Tartarian guys going out and hunt for building stuff, you go ahead, have fun, right? But I understand why the Americans do it. I understand it's about politic and ownership. I
Plain.
understand. Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, but I get why the Americans do it. The thing that's curious to me is the Europeans. And the Tartarian guys, those guys who are looking into architecture in the old world, they should focus more on Europe because I think their mysteries that they're looking for are there, right?
Yeah.
The American one isn't a mystery. I 100% understand why that was done. It's all about greed and power. That's not
It
hard.
usually is.
Yeah. But the European side of it, and they don't spend enough time on it. They're always going on America. And to be fair, there's so many places in America you can go look at these ancient buildings that were built long before the Europeans supposedly came. It's easy
Yeah.
to do. It's so easy to do. And they're in America, most of them, and I think that's why it's convenient. But I mean, if they really want to take their research into a more informative direction, I think they need to start focusing on Europe because I think that's where the answers are. And there's a couple of them that do that. But
I think
clear.
that's where the answers to a lot of questions are, Chester.
I think so. I think there's a little bit. I think European history is a bit off. Yeah. But anyway, let's get back
Just a
into
little.
it. Yes, Grimlock.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah, just a lot of it.
Yeah, this Elon Musk thing is disappointing. That's
Yeah.
I mean, I want to trust Elon. I do because he's well, just mainly just because he's funny. I think he's a funny guy. I think he's got a
Mhm.
good sense of humor. I don't think he's an evil bastard.
Mm.
But this right here, looking real sus, Elon. Like that is literally the enemy. So if
Well,
you say you're for free speech and the future of humanity and all this stuff, and you care about human liberty, and you put your money on the line, and you did all of that, and then you go and hire the enemy, what are you doing?
yeah, maybe keep your enemy close. I think,
Maybe.
but here's the thing, though. Um, Elon does listen. The
Yeah.
response came out. He came out and said, "Oh, we'll have like a meeting, and we'll do like a town hall type of thing, and
Yeah.
we'll have a talk with her, and you'll be able to ask her questions." He responded, right?
Yes.
And we know he listens, and if there's a big enough outcry, he probably will go away from her. I mean,
Well, the other thing, the other good news is he's still the boss, right? It's still his company. He's still going to be there or be involved on a,
yeah,
I would assume, at least a weekly basis as the head of the two departments he's going to be running.
well, he wants to
Um,
turn Twitter into the ultra YouTube, is what he wants.
yeah, which is smart, which is what they should have done forever ago. It actually would have made a lot of sense to make it the short form video platform. It was already the short form, you know, written platform,
Yeah,
but Jack Dorsey and gang were just terrible at everything, and Elon is the only one who's even trying to
right.
innovate with this particular thing.
Yeah,
Which
and
I applaud him for. And I
sure.
said from the beginning, I don't care how much money he spends on it, he's gonna turn it around and make his money back. This is Elon Musk.
Well, he's
Like
already
he
breaking
is,
even. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he is the greatest living entrepreneur, maybe the greatest of all time. He just is. It's just look at the scoreboard. He's up there. He's
He
on the
is,
board.
yeah, he is on the board. But this is also explains why Tucker is doing Twitter,
Yep.
right? Because he has, and we're going to see a reveal very shortly of his new idea, and Tucker's going to be the leading voice on it. And why not? The dude literally got 100 million interactions, and
Yeah,
that's not counting all the people like me who just saw it. That's
that's
people who actually clicked on the thing, right?
that's right.
Dude, that could translate by a lot of times they say on these SNS stuff, only about 10% of people actually interact. If that's
Right.
true, that's a billion people.
Yep.
Let's be super conservative. Let's say it's only 300 million. Dude, that's the population
Bro,
of America.
I've been saying it. Tucker, I know he doesn't want to, but he needs to run for high office. He is more popular than he realizes. A lot
Oh,
of
he could
people didn't want to
easily, yeah.
watch him. Didn't want to watch him because he was on Fox, and because then they'd have, they're like me, and I'm not paying for cable just to watch Tucker. That's stupid.
Yeah, you just see him on
So
YouTube anyway.
yeah, just watch it on YouTube or watch it on Twitter or whatever. If I wanted to watch it, but I honestly do think that someone like him, unless if the system's fair and it's not rigged and all this stuff, um, I don't see how he loses. I
Yeah, no,
really don't,
he
because
he
you're
would.
not going to beat him in a debate. Like that's
No,
just not gonna happen.
no,
So he's too one of the reasons why so many people like him is he's not really a conservative. He is
no. I
very
call him a
much
classical liberal. Yeah,
he's a right-leaning moderate is what I would say he is because he understands that yeah, we want a free market, quote unquote, but we don't want it to be so utterly stupid that these companies can do whatever they want. There
yeah,
has to be a give and take here. And that is something that I think one of the reasons Trump got elected was that is he was out here talking about how the market was, rigged, basically rigged in favor of the people at the top because he uses it. So of course that's why he knows about it. Um, and Tucker's been on that same train for years. So
yep. But according to CNN, right wing extremist Tucker Carlson, like, made me laugh. Really?
they don't even know. They don't
They don't
even
even know
know
what
what a
it is.
right wing extremist is. They have
No.
no idea.
But I did find it funny that Fox was trying to bury him, and with so-called big air quotes here, leaks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the funny thing is, every damn video they released made him look better.
They were hilarious.
Yeah.
He was funny, he's witty, he's relatable. Like I don't understand how these people are so up their own keisters that
Hmm.
they don't realize how ridiculous they look to normal people.
Right. Yeah.
Just they look like clowns.
They do.
In
And
fact,
those
they look worse than clowns.
they do.
Mimes.
And those leaks that they put out to try to make him look bad, it solidified Tucker for me. Because I say, all right, well, I think he's this, but he could just be, slick, because he is slick.
Right.
Um, but these leaks they put out shows me, no, 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 Tucker Carlson is exactly what you see,
Yep.
and that's a good thing.
That is a good.
That was
That's
my
why he's
best Bernie
popular.
Sanders.
Yes. That's why he's popular. Is because I don't. A lot of people think he's lying or this or that or whatever.
I don't think so.
Uh, But I don't think so. I think he is who he is. Yeah, he comes from like a wealthy, connected family and
Which he's
everything, but that doesn't
never
mean
hidden.
yeah, he's never tried to deny, like act like he, was some blue collar
Hmm.
hero.
Yeah,
Uh, he's a silver
he's a
spoon
rich boy.
baby,
Yeah, he is.
but he's exactly what in many ways I am. I'm not against elitism as an idea. I'm just against the ones we have now. Because the ones we have now are monsters.
Well,
They're
because they're
evil
not
people.
elitists; they're followers, right?
Oh,
Um,
they're just horrible.
and
They're
and
just monstrous people.
and a lot of people I saw saying, "Well, Tucker, why didn't you take this $100 million deal, this $300 million deal?" Because he doesn't need money. He's got money.
That's right.
This isn't
He's
about
got
money for him. It's not like Anderson Cooper, who I don't understand at all. Because Anderson, you want to talk about Silver Spoon? That's a freaking
Mm,
Aster, dude.
that's right.
He's Tucker. I mean, Anderson
He has
Cooper
a
is part
platinum
of the
spoon.
Astor family, dude.
Yeah, that's a platinum spoon, Chester.
Yes, dude. Why are you on TV just being a puppet and saying everything you're told? Because he didn't used to be like that,
No,
but he is
neither did
now.
Don Lemon
Why do
back
you?
in the day.
Don Lemon's a moron.
He is,
Anderson Cooper is not, but he's
but
a he's a
But Don
pussy.
Lemon used to be more. He used to be more honest. Don Lemon did. Now, ever since, they fired him too. But for a long time, he just said whatever they told him to, and it was obvious he was just saying whatever fit the narrative. He was
Yeah,
on
he's
board
a
with, no matter
racist,
what the
dude.
narrative was. Well, yeah, that's why they hired him. Like that MSNBC, that Muslim guy, that Mehdi Hassan. They hired him because he hates white people. He's a
Yeah.
brown guy who hates white people, and he's not. He doesn't even hide it. Like he's very
Oh
clear
no,
he
most of
doesn't
them
like
don't.
white people.
Yeah. Yep, you see a lot of those these days. Jada Pinkett Smith clearly hates the whites, even though they've made her life for her. I
Even though
mean,
she's definitely at
yeah,
least 3/4 of it. Look at her.
oh yeah. Besides that, I mean, most American blacks are
he's
not actually
retarded.
African. But I'm just saying, her entire richness and success is coming off of white people loving her husband,
But
right?
yes,
And
And
because
her at one time.
and her at one time, but I mean, she's
White people
clearly
really tried to make
incredible
her a
negative.
star.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I don't know what that was about
she
because
ain't her
she's not
husband,
white.
dude.
He ain't that good
Will
either.
Will had
Charm.
he had that charm about him, especially in the mid '90s, late '90s,
Hmm.
early 2000s. But boy, oh boy, did that wear off. The bloom fell off that rose.
Yeah, well, it's
Um,
his own doing, dude. And now, what
yeah.
man puts up with that? I actually, before I came on today, I was just kind of, actually, should go get more coffee. But I was watching ABBA and Preach, which I watch from time to time. I like to see what the common folk are thinking. But anyway, but
Peasantry.
well, no, the peasantry, yeah. But no, I like ABBA and Preach because they shoot straight. You know, could I sit down and have a conversation and be friendly with ABBA and Preach? Probably not. Right? I don't know if they don't seem to be outwardly racist, but I don't think they'd hang around with white dudes so much. But it doesn't matter. But I do enjoy watching them because they give a very interesting insight into the modern world. But
Mhm.
they were showing this little thing I thought was very interesting. Down in Brazil, there was some concert, and this like funk band thing, and the guy on stage pointed to a woman in the crowd to call her up on stage. He picked her up and basically dry humped her on stage, and she was all into it. Her husband jumped up on stage yelling. They dragged him off. He was yelling at her. They dragged him out of the venue, and it's like, of course he's upset.
Yeah. What?
And that's what they said. It's like, where's the shock? Of course. I mean, that's instant divorce right there.
Yeah,
You're going to
that's
embarrass
yeah,
your man like that in front of the entire world, basically. You're going to do that? No,
yeah.
these
You
women
gotta
are out
you
of
gotta move
control.
city after that. There ain't no coming back from that. Get quick.
That's not good, dude. It's not
Oof.
good. And of course, she was kind of like, "What are you so upset about?" Like, "Oh, you dumb bitch."
Well, the
Anyway,
problem is, Chester. Problem is, and I know this sounds mean, but the problem is enough of these girls when they were younger, when they were girls still, didn't have an older woman to give them up upside the head and tell them quit being stupid.
yeah,
Because the problem is they're just stupid. They make stupid decisions and then they have no accountability for them. And it's because they didn't have older women who taught them to be accountable to themselves. Because
no,
men can't teach that to women. We can that goes in one ear and out the other. One ear and out the other when a man starts telling them these sorts of things. But if a woman does it, well, then it's especially an older woman. If that's somebody they respect or look up to, like a
yeah.
grandmother
Well,
or a mother,
there's your problem.
yeah,
Respect.
yes. And
Clearly,
that's
there's
I
none of that.
honestly think that is the biggest problem today. A lot and young men too. I'm not leaving them out. A lot of these kids, because that's what they are, they didn't get reared. They didn't really get raised at all. They were just they survived basically. That's all that happened. They weren't actually raised. They weren't taught anything. They have no actual principles or integrity or character.
Yeah,
They just do what feels good from one minute to the next, and that's it. So that's why she behaved that way. What are you mad about? What do you mean? What am I mad about?
yeah, yeah. No, we do see a lot of childishness these days. I live in a country where people don't grow up until like they're 30 something, right?
Yeah.
They're very slow maturation period here in Japan. To give you
Yep.
an example, I had to go to every 7 days after someone dies, there's a ceremony until the 50th day, and then it jumps to like 100 days and then months and then years and then it ends at the 50th year. So this is how Buddhists do it. They actually will do ceremonies and remember the dead person for 50 years, right?
Yeesh.
Yeah, well, that's their culture. And so of course I'm part of the family and it's a very close part of the family. So I went to all of them and I was there on Saturday, and the two young girls of her cousin were there, and they're like mid 20s, right? And of course, they're being as young girls tend to be around me, right? Cool
Mm,
uncle, bubbly, flirty, just kind of the way young girls are around me.
mhm,
Which is fine. It's not a, it's an innocent thing. It's not a bad thing. But
mhm,
the thing I thought was very, very interesting was particularly the 25-year-old, the younger one.
mhm.
She would do little things like hide her eyes underneath the coffee table when she felt embarrassed from something, or just lots of little things that a little girl would do, right? Like, say
Hmm.
you run into a 12, 13, 14-year-old girl and she's a little enamored with you. She thinks you're cool or whatever it is. And she'll do all these kind of very obviously childish things to get your attention, right?
Right.
And which is fine. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm not complaining about it. It's not a bad thing. It's normal. But the
Hmm.
difference is that in America, it'd be like a 12, 14-year-old. Here, it's like a 25, 27-year-old,
Right.
right? And I never really made a decision on this here in Japan, whether I think that's a good thing or not. I suppose the fact that Japan functions so well, I have to put it in the check column, I suppose.
Right.
It really struck me this weekend more than usual because particularly young one, she's clearly enamored with me heavily, right? And
Hmm.
she was giving all those little signals, right? Just constantly. Everything I said was the funniest thing ever said. Now I'm a funny dude. I know that.
Oh,
How,
hilarious! Yeah.
however, you know what I mean. But it was such a childish way to do it, right? Which just made me smile. So it wasn't. It's no. I'm not complaining. I just it's an observation. Um,
What do you call them? The older ladies. What are they called over there? Older ladies.
Bachans.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need a whole army of them out here getting these raggedy hoes in line because
Oh yeah,
men can't do it.
yeah,
Well,
no,
the only way we can solve these sorts of problems is physical violence, and that's not allowed.
yeah,
So, ladies, get out there and handle your business.
yeah. Well, actually, you mentioned that her grandmother saw it too, right? I mean,
Mm,
anybody could see it, right? And but they know me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take advantage of it. I'm a mature person.
mhm.
The grandmother knew exactly what to say to her. She said, "You studied English in college. You know, this is all in Japanese. You practice your English with Uncle Chet." And instantly she got embarrassed and just disappeared underneath the coffee table. So it's a good point. Grandma knew exactly how to deal with that shit,
That's right.
right? And of course, that it made me laugh as well.
Take
Uh,
your legs right out from under her.
yeah, no, exactly. Knock it off. Leave them alone, right? But anyway, my point made. So let's move on here.
If
Elon, boy,
if people do not humble each other, time will do it for them.
yeah. Yeah, no, no, it's true. But you do need the old ladies to pay attention to that kind of stuff and kind of get in it because, like I said, a child reacting that way, and boys will do. It's a little bit different from a boy point of view, but it's the same thing, right? You
Yeah.
need the adults to come in and kind of no, no, enough of that. But I mean, but the kids are learning. Right? It's like when you
Right.
see a little lion cub playing with the dead rabbit that was dropped off for it to practice with. They're practicing, right? And there's
Right.
nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with it. But you do need those grandmas in this case to slap them down a little bit every now and then.
Yep. That's what family's for. It's to keep you humble.
Yep, it's true. Anyway, let's
Because
move
they
on here.
remember when you were nothing. Let's read this. New report claims Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania lost Marvel $125 million plus.
Right. And
I can
uh,
believe that.
Now, this right here, was this the no? I meant to do like this. I do apologize. So, okay, they lost a ton of money off of this, right?
Yeah.
And obviously they're losing money left and right. I haven't seen anywhere that they've made money recently, right? They're
They're not
losing
going
money
to.
and they're not going to. And in the beginning, when the new Guardians of the Galaxy came out, I saw a lot of negative reviews. But then the guys who I actually listened to started giving reviews, and they said, "Well, actually,
Mm.
it's a really good movie." But that's not gonna. I don't think
Yeah.
that they don't think that's gonna save Marvel. So I'm happy about that
Well,
because I'd like to see a good conclusion to Guardians because I did
I
enjoy
had
the
a
movies.
friend pay for my ticket and took me and the wife out to see it. It was the wife's idea, and I
Yeah,
was like, fine. So, because I didn't pay for the ticket, so whatever. Um, it is. It's not a bad film. In fact, it has quite a lot of good stuff in it. The problem
Some
is
flaw.
I
Some.
agree with them. It's definitely not going to save right the ship because it's not one. It's not designed to. This is an
Mm,
end of story
yeah,
movie.
finale. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's not designed to right a ship. It's designed to dock basically. And that's what it does, and it does it fairly well. James Gunn is a fairly competent director.
I think
I'm
so.
telling you right now, man. After watching this, I have no hope in him making a Superman movie. None, because all of the problems with James Gunn movies are amplified. This movie's almost 3 hours long.
Wow.
They are amplified by this movie because he cannot help himself but to try to be funny. He's got some insecurity in him or something where
Yeah.
he's always got to make a joke.
Well, it's what
So
he
all of the
does.
moments, yeah, all the moments that have, weight, and there's a lot of them, they're undercut within a minute of it happening because there's got to be a yuck yuck.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's a problem. When you're making a Superman movie, you can't have that. Superman needs to be sincere. That doesn't mean there can't be any humor, but it can't be all the time, right? Superman has to, especially from Superman, there doesn't need to be a lot of humor. He needs to come off as sincere and with integrity
Right.
and with compassion.
Right.
You can't have him be making jokes about the guy who just fell out of a building or something,
No,
right? Like,
he's
you just
mm,
can't do that.
he's not the right dude for that. It's 100%. But I mean, that's what he does, right?
Yep.
And I don't even know if he's going to bother to try, to be honest with you. But he's kind of similar to that to David Cohen or the tickly Y kitty guy.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy, David Cohen. That's his real name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
the fact that that's true.
Old, old
Because
Dave.
yeah, old Dave, because he's the not so secret gay guy,
Yeah.
right? Uh, excuse me, who's really good at doing funny shtick. That's his thing, and he's good at it.
Yeah.
However, I did see the TV series What We Do in the Shadows,
Hmm.
and compared to the movie, it's not even close, dude. The movie's so much better.
Think
So
so?
much better. Oh yeah, way, way, way better. The I
You're,
guess.
you're, you're shitting on Pendara's favorite show. Just want you to know.
Well, I'm not
No,
saying
it's
it's
not my
bad.
favorite
I'm
show,
not
but
saying it's bad.
it's a good show.
It's nowhere near as good as the original, though. It
I think I
shows.
probably agree with you, to be honest. Because the format's different for one, that takes away
Yeah,
from it, in my opinion. I think it's better as a movie. And
yeah.
two, yeah, I think I agree with you. Actually, I really like that. The movie's freaking hilarious.
It's
It just is.
fantastic. Yeah, it's tight
Yeah,
and
yeah.
him.
That's what I mean, right?
Yeah,
It's got a nice tight structure.
yeah.
There's no nonsense. Which a show is going to have a bunch of loose ends just by the
Right.
nature of it. So
Well, I also don't understand why did you move it out of New Zealand? That was actually part of the charm of it. Why
I
did
don't
you
know.
put it in Staten Island? I mean, that doesn't make sense. It would have made more if you're going to move in America. It'd make more sense to putting it in Idaho,
Right,
right?
somewhere that makes no sense at all, but that's why it's
Exactly,
funny.
which is why it was funny. So you have that. Why did you mess with the formula? I mean, I actually don't mind the lady, the couple.
She's
There's a
good.
vampire couple. I don't mind her at
Glad
all.
so.
But the formula they had of the bro gang from the movie just worked better.
Yeah,
Changing it up and having a married vampire couple, and of course I never care for the little character that constantly gets browbeaten. I've never
yeah.
been a fan for that with a little chubby Mexican kid. But it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I'd even suggest go watch it. It has some chuckles. But the
Yeah.
movie is just so clean.
I think it's one of those shows that actually does get better as it goes because
Oh,
they
I
figure
imagine.
out
Yeah,
they figure themselves out more, and
yeah.
what the characters, because the absurdity just reigns in that show. But they figure out more of what to do with each of these characters. In fact, I'd say the last season was probably the weakest, but up until then, it consistently got better.
No, that's cool. Like, I'm not knocking on it. I'm just making a comparison. The
And
only
that character that gets browbeat a lot, turns out he's a, relative of Van Helsing.
Yeah, I
He's
already
got Van
saw that.
Helsing DNA.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So he's actually like a super vampire hunter.
Right, right, right. I saw that they were hinting that at the end of season one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I think there was some good stuff. There was only one episode that fell really bad flat. The rest of it
Yeah.
was fine. The one that fell flat was basically a salary episode that brought in all these retired old timer actors.
Mm.
It was dumb. Yeah, that was shit. But other than that one episode, I think it was fine. But it's just not tight.
Yeah.
And some of the decisions they made, like I said, I don't mind. The concept of it is great. And if you're going to change it like that, with bringing in the vampire couple and things like that, I would have changed a lot more. Is what I'm saying.
Right. Go further with it.
Yeah, sure, you could have them guest star, coming from New Zealand for some big vampire meeting or something, right?
Right.
But basically, I would have not screw Stanton Island, put them right in Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
And have it very different, have them very glitzy, and do the comedy the opposite, where in the movie they're just failures. They're just
Yeah.
useless, right?
You're
In this
terrible.
one,
Yeah.
make it that they're useless, but in the fact that they're amazing at what they do,
Right.
right? Be the opposite. I would have gone a very different way. I would have chose a vampire couple that were slick Hollywood, gorgeous people, right?
What's
Y-
funny though is Taika doesn't have hardly anything to do with the show. I mean, he makes his appearances or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's the other guy, the other producer that
He's
pretty
busy,
much
and
runs the whole deal.
but
Yeah.
that's fine, and you don't need it. The concept itself it does it all by itself. But anyway,
Yeah.
the point of I put this up here was simply to represent the amount of money that Disney is losing, and we're starting to see pushback. Bob Iger got on a meeting not too long ago and said some really stupid shit, and they're going to probably not only get lawsuits,
Oh yeah.
but they might actually get government charges brought against them for some of the stuff he said. It was stupid, and I didn't know Bob Iger was that dumb, dude. I really didn't.
Well,
Uh,
It's the virus, man. It's got them all.
this fight he's been picking with Florida is really good. I'm not going to say it's going to destroy Disney, but it's going to severely cripple them because they're losing a lot of special privileges left and right
they are.
because
Yeah.
DeSantis is only governing with one policy with Disney right now, and that's the fuck around and find out policy.
He is,
Yeah.
and good on him
And
for it. And good on him
and
for it.
it's
And
and it's working. But
well,
what needs to be asked, because I think Clownfish was the only one that was covering the story like 4 or 5 years ago
that's true.
about the woman who was whistleblowing to the SEC that Disney was cooking the books.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it was the only one at the time that was really talking about that story. And I'm mentioning it now because Ant-Man and the Wasp, like you just pointed out, lost over $125 million.
Mm, yeah.
And this is a movie that, from what I've seen, they said had a $250 million budget.
Wow, dude.
And I haven't watched the movie, but like from the parts of it that I've seen, you can't tell me where the fuck you had $250 million
No.
worth of expense
Yeah.
in this movie.
We've talked about
In the
this
older
before.
movies, in the older ones, the before the big guys left, before Robert and Cap left, you could at least make the excuse, well, they're paying the stars a lot of money because they were. Now they're not. These guys aren't getting the same kind of contracts Robert Downey Jr. was getting. Like, you're out of your mind.
Right.
So
But
where's that money going? It's just disappearing into the ether of these productions. It's pretty fishy, is my
Yeah,
point.
we
It's like,
we know
but
it's
it,
we know it's a scheme. Yeah.
even with that, it's like, okay, even if you had that, like they just brought up that I think it's a Midnight's Edge or some one of the channels I was watching that said Puss in Boots and the Mario Brothers movie combined didn't come out to 200 million.
No.
Right.
Why would it?
And
Yeah.
you
and they're
have
full animations.
this, yeah. But I'm saying, considering the heavy use of CG in the Marvel movies, and that's $250 million, and that's not including the money that was spent on reshoots.
Or advertisement.
Because no, yeah, that
Yeah.
that that, that part hasn't been included either. So it's
You
like
can tack another 100 million on that number, dude. Easy. I guarantee it.
Easy.
I'm saying you could tack another two because the
Maybe.
reshoot, half the movie was reshot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every movie in Phase 4, and I guess every movie except Guardians has had at least half of the movie reshot.
Yeah, no, Yeah, Grimlock, people have been talking about this for years, how many of these companies are spending way too much money and they're not making money. How do they still survive? We know there's a scam going on. We know there is. And
Yeah.
I've just never had enough time to really research it enough to speak about it because I'm just not informed enough to have a opinion. I know something's up though.
Smell it.
You can smell it, right?
Mm.
But anyway, we know they're losing a lot of money. A lot of people are because of this nonsense that they're doing. But then I saw
Everyone
that
except Universal.
well, they're putting out kind of normal stuff, right?
Putting out good shit.
No, did
That's
oh
why.
wait. Okay, no, did all right. So you may not have heard this. So with Disney losing all the money they've been doing on Disney Plus, I guess their idea to stop some of the bleeding was to buy out the rest of Hulu outright.
Yep.
Okay,
So the part that they, because I think they only had 40%, so the other 60% they had to buy from Universal.
Yep.
So Universal just made out like a fat rat again.
right, as they
They've
often
been
do.
they've been
But
around a long time.
well, they also just dropped a movie that's already made him $1.5 billion.
Yep.
Yeah,
You know, but this whole problem we know about the money they're losing, and then I saw this right here, dude. Read that.
Jonathan Major's attorney blames Marvel star's domestic violence charges on the quote racial bias that permeates the criminal justice system.
Okay, he's guilty as shit.
the
He,
fuck
he
does that
is
have to do with him beating
guilty.
a bitch?
He is guilty as shit, and they are in trouble because they put a lot of bank on this
Here's what
dude.
happened with him.
A lot
Here's
of
what
bank on
happened.
this dude. What are they going to do?
His
Uh,
career was coming up. He got a big ass ego. She mouthed off and he beat her ass.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's what happened,
Probably.
and she might even hit him first. I'm sure,
Yep.
but the simple fact of the matter is that right there, that shows me he's guilty as shit. He is guilty.
Yep.
I'm gonna be honest. If I'm Jonathan Majors, I'm beating whoever his lawyer is who said this. I'm beating his ass the first thing in the morning because
Yep.
nigga, this is not your job. Your job is to vouch for my innocence. This statement right here,
Yeah,
everybody's gonna look at this statement just like you two just did.
yep.
Everybody's
Yep.
gonna roll their eyes and say, "Oh, he's playing the race card. He must have beat her ass."
He must have,
Yep.
because the simple
And,
fact of the
and
matter is this race card thing. We all know, and I mean those of you in America, I don't know how it is in your country, but we all know that the opposite is actually true. A black dude will get away with a lot more shit than a white dude will. It's the
Especially a famous one.
Especially a famous one. The bias
well,
is
if you're famous,
directly the other way. We know this. We all know this, and we listen to this bullshit all the time. But the fact that his lawyer's dropping this shows me that not only is he guilty, boy, is he guilty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame
'cause-
too
yeah,
because this was his time.
He was
Like he
coming up.
was
because
this could have been huge for him.
because
Yeah.
2 months ago, um, didn't 2 months ago they said that they had the video from the Uber?
I think so.
Like I could
Maybe.
I could have swore like 2 months ago they said that they had the video and he would be exonerated and blah blah blah. And 2 months later, I still ain't
No
seen no
video.
video.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're saying something like this, just for the sake of objectivity, I'll say there's still a possibility he might be innocent. But if your lawyer is saying this,
It's not good.
nigga, you looking guilty as fuck right
Yeah,
now.
it's not good.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys remember years back?
Either that or your lawyer's an idiot. I
Yeah,
will reserve that your lawyer's a complete idiot and you should be whooping his ass first thing in the morning.
it's not good. But you guys remember years ago, there was a football player, and he goes into the elevator. His girl
Ray
is
Rice.
being extremely Ray Rice, being extremely violent, striking him. He pushed her away. She fell in a weird way, knocked her head, and knocked herself out. He.
Yep.
I see no guilt in that. He was simply just trying to protect himself, and she just fell in an awkward way. But you
No,
remember what happened to
she
him?
slapped him. He slapped her back, and yeah, basically he was blackballed out of the industry. And a lot of that was because you had a lot of. I'm just gonna say it, you had a lot of ballless men
Yep.
who got on TV and said, "Under no circumstances should you ever hit a woman." Bullshit. You put your hands on me, fuck around and find out.
Well, that has
Yep.
changed, though. That has changed.
Well, that's
But
one of the
No, it
reasons.
hasn't. You still got a lot of spineless men who will
well,
get in front of a
There are a
camera
lot
and
of
easily say that.
simps out there who will say that, but I think in the wider society that notion is dying very
it is.
fast on the
There's a
vine.
lot of videos of men just hauling off on women who laid their hands on
And
them.
yeah, and truthfully, this could be one of those cases, but we don't know because we haven't
Right.
seen
That's
anything.
why I mentioned it.
Right.
But
Because
the fact,
we did see that happen with Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals. The woman was calling him nigger, put her hand, and then she really messed up and put her hands on him.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the hell made you think you could put your hand on a running back and not get your ass throttled,
those are
but she
tough little
tried it.
dudes, man.
And she
Yeah.
played a game of fuck around and find out that night and lost. And
Yeah,
everybody
but
was talking about how
You often
disgusting
do
that
lose
was. But
that
I'm like,
game.
but
nope.
but the thing I'm saying
But no,
with Ray Rice is,
yeah,
he didn't pull this shit.
No.
He
yeah.
didn't say the cops
And
are biased. It never came up. He never talked about white or black at all, right?
no,
But yeah,
but that has become such an easy go to because making white people feel guilty about shit that ain't got nothing to do with
I'll
them
be
has
back
become
in
a
a second.
strategy.
Yes.
It's it's kind of like everything you're seeing right now. It's kind of like the not to get too deep into it, the Jordan Neely case that's going on.
Yes.
Now everybody gives a fuck about Jordan Neely, where the guy's had issues for over a decade, and if people had
Yes.
really cared about him, he would have been in some kind of home or institution where he could have got the fucking help he needed. But no, y'all let him sit out there for decades and decades on end, where he was a problem to himself and everybody around him, and now you know he fucked around with the right one and found out, and now
And,
everybody's supposed
and
to
it
feel
wasn't even
bad.
intentional. It was very obvious he
No,
wasn't trying to kill the guy.
it wasn't even it wasn't
If
even
he wanted
intentional
to kill him,
and
he'd have killed him. He was big. That's a big boy. He's
yeah.
like
Well,
6'3",
if you're in a rear
240.
if you're in a rear naked choke, you could tell, dude. If he had that shit locked in, it wouldn't have taken as long as it did.
No, no.
no, you talk about
We've
that.
we've watched.
Yeah.
A
Well,
Yeah, we
proper choke takes at most 28
yeah,
seconds to knock somebody out, and that's at most.
dude.
And this guy's a Marine; he
You
knows how to put that on properly.
nah, I don't know that he does.
remember?
Marines are
Wait,
taught to
remember?
kill, not
No,
subdue, dude.
yeah, but I'll say this. Thundara remembers this. We was watching UFC, and that girl that beat Shevchenko because she beat her with a rear naked choke, and she only had that shit on for a few seconds. And
Yep.
when she let go, you could see all the blood just rush back to Shevchenko's head. Her
Yes.
fucking head was like ghost white. That's how
Now,
good and locked
if he
in
had done a blood
that was.
choke, he would have been out in 18 seconds at
Yeah.
most. Blood chokes take no time at all. That's sleeper hold is a blood choke.
Right, right, right.
Um, but regardless, that whole thing is nonsensical and lunacy because this is a very like well you're even making my point, Chester. If he had wanted to kill this guy, it would have been a lot quicker. It would have been a lot more
Oh,
done.
we
He's a
all saw the
Marine. He
video.
knows how to kill
We
him.
all saw the video, and we're talking about that guy. It wasn't that guy. It was three guys.
Yes,
Three guys,
Yeah.
and one
correct.
of them was Latino. The other one was a black guy. Right? They're
Yes,
not talking
trying
Yeah.
about
to
them at
stop
all.
the
They're
fight.
always talking about the white boy. Right? There were
Of course.
three guys
Yeah.
trying to
Because
restrain him. We still don't know what the hell he did to get them on that, and I guarantee it must have been something. Because most people will sit back and take quite a bit before they
Yeah.
react.
well,
He must have been
well,
beating
I'll
on
say this.
people. Where's that damn video? Let's see that.
Well, see, the thing is, all right, Chester, you know this. Somebody who's been in New York, that kind of shit has been a problem forever.
Forever.
Yep.
Yes, I
And
know.
to and to
Yeah.
all the people, to all the dumb motherfuckers, because we had a discussion in Discord. To all the dumb motherfuckers who say shit like, why didn't you just call the police, nigga? How?
Yeah, and the
First
cops
of
ain't
all, as
coming.
Train.
anybody
The
who
cops
knows,
ain't coming anyway.
anybody, well, even then,
You're
if
on
you
a
know how the
train.
subway system works, you're on,
Yeah.
if either the subway system, depending on where you are, you're either underground or you're a half mile up in the fucking air. So one or two things: either you're not gonna have a signal, or you're up in the fucking air. Either way, cop ain't getting to you.
No.
Second of all,
No.
you got one conductor. You got one conductor in the train. He's driving. He's up in the fucking front.
They don't leave that
So,
box either.
so
No.
if you got bullshit going on, and if he's in the first car and you got bullshit going on in the sixth car, he don't fucking know. and half the time, at least when I was growing up, half the time the doors to switch from car to car would be fucking locked. So the only way you could move from car to car is you wait till you get to a fucking stop. Some bullshit breaks out, you can't even get the fuck out of there.
Dude.
So the idea of, oh well, you could just retreat to where? You're in a fucking tube, basically, dumbass.
Yeah.
You're in a
But
fucking tube. You're either underground or you're in the fucking air. You can't call a cop. You can't get the conductor. What the fuck are you supposed to do?
Talking about
yeah.
the subway really brought the New York out of him. Did you hear that?
No, it did. Yeah, no, and I get it because I'll give an example. 1990, right? I'm on the train. I'm going into Manhattan, right? So I'm going
Yeah,
from Brooklyn into Manhattan. I'm on the train and going over the bridges, and I'm sitting in the train with a couple of my buddies, right? And
yeah.
had this guy come on. He was not a black guy; he was a Latino guy, but he came on clearly whacked out his head, and talking shit. He wasn't so far gone, but he was just talking shit, being a dick, right? Just
All
yelling
right.
and screaming at people, which is something you see every damn day. But I don't know what he did, but he said something that got my attention. Because normally people screaming and yelling on the train. You live in New York, you're used to that. That's why I said that guy must have
Yeah,
done something. Because you live in New York, you're used to people screaming, pissing themselves. You're used to that shit, right? But
yeah.
I remember this one guy. I forget what he said, but he got my attention, and I looked up at him and I said, "That's enough." Right? And of course he started to mouth off to me, and one of my buddies says, "Dude, you don't want to do that." Right?
That's the worst mistake.
Yeah, yeah, okay, you don't want to don't go get my attention any further. But I'm just saying that to kind of demonstrate the fact that in New York now during Giuliani's time, which I don't have any experience with, right? But during Giuliani's time, it sounded like things got better. But when I was in New York,
Now that was still a problem. It's just but see, that's the other thing. Like you said, most of the time, if you encountered some stuff like that, you just get up and go to the next car
oh yeah, that
if you
too,
could.
yeah, that too.
A,
But I
a,
mean,
a lot of times you'd be like, oh look, the neighborhood rhino is having one of his episodes, and
right,
you would just get up and
move
you
along.
would try to ignore him as best you could, and you'd go into the next fucking car. And
Yeah.
another thing for all of them who care so much about fucking mental health, a lot of them people have some mental health issues, and they've had them for a long fucking time, and they have nowhere to go.
No, and but the
So
point I'm really trying to drive home is if you live in New York, you deal with that
yeah,
shit all the time, dude.
all the
That is
damn
Yeah.
normal. So the fact that it kicked off that these three dudes felt that they had to restrain that guy, boy, it must have been bad. You know what I mean? He
yeah.
must have been
Oh,
violently touching people, dude, because
the fact
we see that shit all the time.
Yeah, and the fact that I'm nearly 40, and that's the first time something like that I can remember has actually happened. That just lets you go how, to be honest, how lucky these idiots fucking was, because that shit could have been happened a long time ago.
No, that's true,
Because this
but
this is not a new fucking this is not new news to anybody who's a native New Yorker or has ever lived in New York for more than 6 months. This is not new territory.
yeah, but we just don't have any video on what he was doing because we see the three
Yeah,
guys trying to restrain him. We see after them trying to help him. The white guy was trying to help him, right? After he's standing
yeah,
up. We don't see what happened before. But I'm telling you, being on the New York train system a lot of times in my life, many, 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 many times, that dude must have
yeah.
been excessively violent
Wild.
for three men to get up and say, "All right, we're going to have to deal with this," because it's common.
Three obviously different men, right? Probably don't know each other from
No, they
Adam,
don't
and they're
know each
like,
other at all. Yeah.
all right, we gotta stop this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but this proves the point that you were making earlier, Chester. In certain places in America, especially, white people don't. You need to leave because you are the enemy, and they're going to do everything they can to prosecute you, even when it's obvious that it was at best an accident, right, or at worst an accident. Um,
Well,
Yeah.
that
and this
corrupt
guy,
DA they got, yeah.
this kid here, or I say kid, he's a Marine. This guy, this man, is like a picturesque picture of a white man. He's lean, he's tall, He's got the perfect chiseled jaw. He's a former Marine. Like this whole deal, he is poster boy of their enemy. I'm
Yeah.
surprised it took him as long as it did to get him arrested.
Well,
But
because
actually,
the
I think he
cops
turned
have
himself
said
in.
very clearly he didn't do anything wrong.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So it's
It's the
not.
Well,
I don't think
DA.
also,
it's going to go anywhere, but they're going to try. They're going to try to crucify him for this. I
They will, but
promise you.
they'll fail because Trump will get involved.
also the DA is a clout chaser.
He is.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it
He
let's
is.
just call it what it is. DA fat ass over there
Well, he wants
Yeah.
to be mayor or something.
anything that can further his career, he's willing to do it. That's why he went after Trump. That's why he went after this guy because he wasn't going to, but then when the public outcry, aka social media, got got to his ears, which I'm surprised that he actually heard something over the sound of the coupons for Dunkin' Donuts. Um,
Yeah,
he
well,
He's a
he
big
saw an
then
fan.
all of a
Catalog,
opportunity.
sudden
He
he
saw an
decided,
opportunity.
catalog
Yeah.
for the world. It's
Yeah.
just
yeah,
a shame. The whole thing's a shame. And Jonathan Major's attorney is a moron.
Yes.
Especially with what's going on in the world right now, where it's pretty. I mean, I don't think there's anybody besides like your diehard crazy leftoid or the people who just genuinely hate white people who believe that man deserves to be arrested for what happened there. And
Yeah.
I think everyone with sense can see what's happening here. You have a black mayor and a black DA. They're persecuting the white guy. That's what they're doing, and there's no reason to pretend that's not what they're doing
Yeah.
because it is.
if I'm
When the
that
police are even, this
Marine,
is the NYPD, bro. They don't give a shit, and they're like, nah, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong.
if I'm this Marine and Jonathan Majors, the first thing if I'm Jonathan Majors, like I said, first thing I do is I beat my fucking lawyer in the morning because he's an idiot. The next thing I do is I call Ezra Miller's attorneys,
Yeah.
whoever Ezra's
They're
Jesus.
amazing.
attorneys are.
Right.
They're the
Those
best in the world.
motherfuckers are
Right.
those motherfuckers are like the CM Punk of fucking attorneys because all kinds of shit this little motherfucker's been doing,
That's true.
and
Yeah,
all he
that's
got to
true.
do was go to rehab.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think that's still going
we
to
actually
backfire on him,
have
though.
video evidence of Ezra.
Yeah, we do.
Literally choking
So
women.
Yeah,
I
we
Literally.
do.
mean, we've seen the videos,
Yeah.
and they just said we're gonna send him to rehab.
Yeah.
So
Rehab.
whatever lawyers he's got, get them.
Well, see, the thing
Choking
is,
women
this
rehab.
movie, Michael Keaton ain't got enough to save that movie, and they're going to get
No.
so much backlash because of that, dude. Same thing with
Well,
the Aquaman movie. They shouldn't have her in it at all. I'll be
here's
back.
another thing I was gonna, you guys, I was gonna mention because I was wondering because I think a lot of people are in this boat, especially the normies.
Yep.
I think that a lot of one of the reasons, I don't think it's the only reason. I think a big reason is a lot of that these movies suck. But I think one of the reasons these movies are failing is that the audience, by and large, knows that a lot of this shit doesn't even matter anymore.
Mm.
Like with the Marvel movies, phases 1 through 3, you had to watch them because it was building to something bigger. Every movie was a little bit more, and you wanted to see where it was going next. And with a lot of these movies, like Guardians, I've heard a lot of people say it's a good movie, but it has some obvious flaws.
Oh yeah.
But even then, that's they've already billed it as the last hurrah for the Guardians. So a lot of people, just like I think they did with Shazam and some of these other movies, if you go, well, if you're going to tell me that it's not going to go anywhere after this and it doesn't lead to anything, I could probably wait till it gets on streaming. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm going to spend what, I don't even know how much a movie ticket costs. I think it's like what, $15
Depends where you're at.
for a single ticket.
It's gone way up.
So
Oh yeah.
what would you rather? Think about it. What would you rather do? Spend $15 per ticket, depending on how many people are going with you, to go see a movie where it either doesn't mean anything or isn't going to go anywhere, where you can just it's going to be on streaming in like 2 months.
That's true, or elsewhere. But this fella here, the thing is, I don't know the situation. He sounds guilty as hell, though. But I've never even seen him. I haven't watched any of the movies of Marvel that he's in. I haven't seen Creed. I've never even seen him act.
I haven't either. Like I'll be honest. I don't watch a lot of movies and whatnot, so I'm probably not the person to come talk to about this. But it just seems like one day he just like plopped into the laps of like mainstream consciousness where everybody was talking about him.
Well, you know why?
Where like
It's because he's the Finn that will do what he's told. He's the what's the Finn boy name? What's his name?
Boyega.
Boyega.
John Boyega.
Boyega is not shutting up. He's a race baiter too. But he's just on and on. He won't shut up. They can't control him. This guy looks just like him, and he's in way better shape.
I'll say Boyega at least early on had a legitimate gripe because boy did he get
Oh,
done
that's
dirty.
fine. I'm not saying you
He
didn't.
he got done
Um,
dirty.
but and Boyega's actually a fine actor. But this guy could be too. But I feel like he's the Boyega replacement. That's what I
Well,
feel.
I have seen him because especially at the end of Loki and something else I don't remember now, but he's fine. He's not gonna win it. He's not Denzel. He's not one of these guys, right? Where he's gonna change the world with his acting or anything.
Well, he ain't pretty enough.
He's just not gonna do that. But that doesn't mean he couldn't have been fine in this role. The problem is the only time I've seen him as Kang, he was terrible. He was the worst part of an already dumb show. The reveal of him at the end of that show, there was no menace, there was no intimidation, there was no villainousness to him at all.
Villainy.
And if he's gonna be, I know, if he's gonna be your Thanos, right, your big bad, he's got to bring something. There's got to be some kind of darkness or madness or something that he's bringing, and he just didn't in that performance.
Yeah.
Now maybe he does in Ant Man. I have no idea
I
because, like
I
I
won't
said, I
know because
just
I
don't
ain't
know.
watching that. You got to yell at your main actor because he's a stupid white man. No, thank you.
How dare
But
he?
All right,
how dare he?
I do have one question. Thundaro, since you've seen Guardians, is it the so the guy who plays High Evolutionary,
Yeah,
isn't that the guy who was the villain in Serenity?
No,
I
that was
think so.
Idris Elba.
Yeah, you're right.
No, that was
No,
not
this guy
Idris
has
Elba.
some.
Yes, it
This
was.
guy has some very African names. I
No,
can't remember
in the
what.
movie Serenity, no, it was not Idris Elba.
Okay, I'll check.
It's
Um, it might be. I honestly don't know, but I've never seen his name before. At least I don't remember it. It's
it,
very
he has a he has I can't pronounce his name for the life of me, but
He
I
is
think it's him.
fantastic as the High Evolutionary. He is the best part of
Well,
that movie.
well, that's what I was saying. Because if it's him, because if you remember Serenity, he was fucking fantastic as the
Yeah.
villain,
You give me as
and
Kang, him as
he
Kang?
usually shows up as the villain, and every time he does, he's fantastic in it.
Yeah.
And
He really was fantastic as High Evolutionary. Now it's not obviously it's not comic book High Evolutionary. They've made quite a few changes.
yeah,
But
yeah,
his version of it is still pretty cool.
yeah,
Chiwetel
because a lot of people say,
Ejiofor.
yeah, that's well, see, you can do it. I could never get his name right, but
I'm a
What did you say?
philologist.
What did you say, Chester? I was coughing. Sorry.
Hmm?
No, I genuinely was. I have some hay fever going on.
it's like, could you do it again?
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
I don't. It might be, but I don't think that's what it was. It's
No,
a
it's
really
not. I'm
weird
looking at
African name.
his IMDb right now. It's not him. Yeah,
Yeah.
he did play Baron Mordo though in the Doctor
Yes.
Strange stuff. It's not. Let me. I'll find out who this other guy is. I did hear he did a good job though.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. He is, and he's what consider my favorite type of villain. He's petty. It's not even so much that he's evil. Evil is irrelevant to him. He's beyond good and evil in his morality, but he's not beyond being petty. And I love that. I love that when a villain's motivations are so simple that he's just petty. I think that's fantastic. I think we need more
Yeah,
villains
see,
like that.
Chiwento was he was the operative in Serenity, because I remember that.
Yep. Yep.
He was so good at that. Yep, you're right. He was Mordo
Yeah. No, he's a good
in
actor.
3-8
He's an excellent
Mordo.
actor. Yeah.
He is. Honestly, everybody brings it in that movie. There's no complaint about the performances. They all do fine. They all know those characters very well. Chris Pratt probably has his best performance as Star Lord, and he is, for the most part, uh, the hero of the story. Him and Rocket, obviously. Um, and I appreciate that. There was just weird decisions. Like this isn't even really a spoiler. For some reason, Chris Star Lord doesn't have his rocket boots. He doesn't have his face mask thing. He just doesn't have them. I don't know why. It's never explained. They never show up. They're never mentioned. No
Hmm.
idea.
It's weird.
And it's
Okay,
just
so this
weird. Like what? Why? Why aren't those in there?
so the guy who's the high evolutionary was in John Wick Chapter 2.
Yeah, his name is Chukwudi Iwuji.
Yep. Very African.
Yep,
He's
I'm looking
fantastic.
at here's an
He's from
interesting
Nigeria.
travel
So
from Nigeria, but has a BA from Yale and a degree from the University of Wisconsin.
he's a rich
Man,
Nigerian.
man
The
gets around.
dude, the
Gets
rich
around, yeah.
Nigerians send their kids out of country. They're smart.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
according to this, you're correct in that. One of 5 Nigerian siblings born to diplomat parents.
There you go. Got him out of there.
Yeah.
But no, he's fantastic. He brings it when it comes to the menace, when it comes to the villainy, as Chester said. He has all of that, and his motivation for why he is doing what he's doing. The high evolutionary part makes sense. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but he has a god complex because as he does, and he can't let go of the fact that one of his creations did something he couldn't, and it sends him in a spiral, and he just can't get out of it. And that's basically his motivation. It's just simply pettiness. He's petty. Can't let it go.
That's perfect.
Um,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. Whoever came up with that idea was brilliant.
James Gunn.
Yep.
Speaking of,
James Gunn confirms plans for milestone characters in the DCU. I'm okay with
finally,
that. Yeah.
finally,
Sounds good.
Wait,
Sounds
can we get the original versions, please? Because the new ones, you can send that back with the activists to wherever fucking homeless shelter you found them at.
I have a feeling we will get the more classical, if you want to call it that, versions. Personally, for some reason I think he understands that there is some stupid reason a desire to have a black Superman like character somewhere out there in the world, and that's the man right there. You just scrolled past him, icon. There you go. There's your black Superman.
right?
Uh, so just give us him. Just do. I
And it
came
would
up with the
and
idea
it
years ago. Just if
and
you're
it
gonna have them be in the same universe, have a Superman that you've already established, and have Icon just show up, and he's got to deal with it, and eventually they come to some kind of a understanding, and Icon goes off and does his thing, and Superman does his thing, and there you go. That's all you have to do
but
to establish. I mean, Marvel's been doing this for years. That's how you establish these characters quick, fast, and in a hurry. You bring them into a movie with the already established characters, and it makes it so much easier to get them, plug them in.
but I would say this: Superman and Icon in the movie universe would be even more interesting because Icon is significantly older than Kal-El.
Yes.
So from his arrival to how long he's been on Earth, he's Icon has seen some shit. And if he was talking about doing a younger Superman, well, how interesting would that be if you got this younger Superman and you got this, I guess you could say, older grizzled alien and Icon who's been living amongst the humans even longer than Kel. So
Right. Well, I mean, I would love to see Icon, but you know what you're getting. You're getting Static.
Yep,
Static
that's
Shock
fine.
I
is what you're going to get. Yeah.
People
can we
want
please
static.
get the original version for
Oh,
fuck's sake? Do not if you take Vita Ayala's version of fucking Static, I'm rioting.
well, James Gunn isn't that kind of woke, right?
But
He's really
you don't
not.
gotta be
Well,
woke to be stupid.
we're not sure of that yet, Chester. He hasn't had this much power before.
Yeah,
This will
I
be the
really don't
test.
think he's that kind of woke, though.
I agree with you. I don't think he is either. But maybe this will be the mask off moment
I
for him,
think
where
he's
he's
a
like, "Hey,
nerd.
I've got the power
Yeah,
now. I can do what I like.
but like I just said, woke don't stop you from being stupid.
It's true.
You don't have to be woke to be stupid.
Now I understand, and we'll have to keep our fingers crossed because the original Milestones was fantastic. And of course, the
Yeah.
thing with it is, it's about damn time. I mean, they keep going on about this diversity crap, but yet you're not using the diverse characters. You're race
They're right
swapping
there.
and gender
They're
swapping.
right
It's
there.
right there, dude. Static is a great character. Icon is a solid character too, but
I
you can do a
kind
lot
of,
with
in a
Static,
way,
dude.
because the TV show and stuff, I kind of, in a way, grew up with Static. Like
Yeah, it was
Static
a great
was
show.
very popular in my formative years. Um, I don't know why it's taken this long to get anything from Static. Anything. Let's see, a show, an act, something good, anything good. Let's be clear.
Hmm.
A movie, a proper
And
movie.
he's been
I
one
don't
of
know.
the most requested characters every
Yep.
time
Hmm.
Warner Brothers has done a poll and they say, which character do you want to see in this DC blah blah blah? Static is always at the top of the list
Hmm.
Yep.
and almost always gets ignored. Like he was supposed to have been in Injustice 2 and they didn't put him in the fucking game. And what they really did to piss people off is the, Static won the poll and they gave us Raiden and fucking Black Lightning instead. It's like you just wanted to piss off the fucking fans.
They did, yeah.
You
Black
went out
Lightning.
of your way to
Well,
piss off the
the
fans.
reason is
Yeah,
because with
that's
Black
funny.
Lightning, they didn't give you Black Lightning; they gave you his daughter.
Yep.
Right? With Static, they can't do that unless they just simply gender swap her.
And
Gender swap
interestingly
it.
enough, a game Thundaro plays, they just put Static in. They just put him in DC Universe Online,
Oh,
Mm,
that's
which
cool.
that took way
took
forever.
forever.
I don't get it
Yeah.
why they don't
Yeah,
like Static. Static's such a popular character. He's a really good character. He is the best implementation. Oh Jesus, doing
English speaking.
Peter Parker that DC has ever done.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. He is Miles Morales done right. That's what
He
he is.
is. And
He's what Miles Morales wishes he was.
Yes.
the thing that made him so universally popular is even though he had a bunch of black writers that want to create black characters, they didn't go and ghetto him out.
Yes.
He's
No,
just an American kid,
Yep.
right? Because they could have easily done that. They could have been, fist up, black power crap. They could have done that, but they didn't do that.
Yep.
They just created normal, heroic American characters, and they were a big hit. They were beloved, particularly Static. Icon, I think, is probably the second most popular. Wasn't another character called Rocket or something?
yeah, that was Icon's sidekick. She
Yeah,
was
yeah,
very popular too.
yeah.
Who also,
Yeah.
you know, gets ignored because
Hmm.
yeah, we need more women characters. Oh, there she is.
Yeah,
There
I
we
don't know
go.
why, and especially seeing as they were so popular, you would think that let's bite on this. I mean, but they don't. It just shows you their racism, though, because this has nothing to do with black people. They don't care about black people. They don't care about anything like that. All they care about is tearing down white people and the family. It's about power.
That's right.
Has
Economy.
nothing to do with blacks. And finally,
Not
I'm
news.
starting to see more and more blacks wake up to this shit.
Yeah.
Finally,
Good. Good.
you
Well,
know.
the funny thing is so many of them were raised in effectively the same culture as I was, as Grimlock was, where this wasn't an issue because no, we didn't need to make it an issue because there was black people everywhere. They were all over everything.
Yeah,
When it came to TV and movies,
Yeah,
I like you said, Will Smith. For my generation, as a teenage
he
boy up
was
until
the
my
shit.
early adult, he was the guy. He
Yeah,
was basically like The Rock is now. He was or Chris Pratt. He was the guy
he
in
was.
Hollywood.
Denzel
There
Washington
was
as
no
well.
touching him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this whole narrative that there's not enough representation for black people it's just retarded. It's just not true.
It's
It's an
not. Yeah,
outright lie.
yeah. Yep. No, it definitely is. But
yeah.
but we know what's behind all this, so it has nothing to do with that. But for many years we've had a lot of black YouTubers and coming out and trying to speak against it, and they've moved it a little bit. I think the newest voice is having success is Officer Tatum. But you know who really has started to move the bar? Interestingly enough, Thomas Sowell.
A
Good.
lot of people have just now discovering him, and
Guy's been
It's
speaking
kind of
genius
crazy
for
to think that
decades.
this man
Yeah.
is going to be 92 years old this year,
Hmm.
and a lot of people, not just black people, there's a lot of white people who are just now discovering him too. But so many people have never heard a single thing from this man up
Yeah.
until now.
I
Like
mean,
if going on YouTube right now, Thomas Sowell reaction videos are pretty fucking big
they are, and
because
he's moving the needle because technically he's an economist, and he's, from what all accounts, a
yeah,
pretty good one. But you know what else he is an anthropologist,
That's right.
and he's a pretty good
yeah,
one. And
And
he's
it's funny
pointing.
because he used to be a Marxist, right? When he was younger, believed all that nonsense. And they asked him, "Well, what changed your mind?" And he said, "Data. I looked at the data, and it just simply,
yeah. Well, also he
it
said he
works."
interned for the government for the
Yes,
summer,
that
and that
too.
also
Yeah,
did it.
Yeah,
he worked for the
that all
government. He's
do.
like, no, 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 no. We
Well, I
can't
mean,
let them have control of everything. They're
well,
incompetent.
I saw a comment from him not too long ago. Of course, it's gone further now, but this is back when California was really getting serious about doing reparations. And of course, they say they're going to do it. They passed some law on it. Of course, they don't have the money to do it, so I don't know where they think they're going to get it from. But he made a comment. He's like, "Oh, okay, so who gets it? Who gets it? How about
Yeah,
all those white slaves? Did they get reparations too?"
Yeah.
Right? Because you got to
No.
keep in mind, as far as what was purchased from outside of America into America, there was 250,000 black slaves sold into America from outside, and there were
Yep.
250,000 white slaves sold into America from outside.
But
An equal
Chester,
number. An equal number.
Twitter told me the white slaves don't exist, and it's a lie
Uh-huh.
by white supremacists
Okie dokie.
to try and
but
lessen the impact of black
So
slavery.
then,
I'm serious. This
therefore,
is what
the
they say.
entire country of Australia doesn't exist either.
That's right.
well,
Yeah,
Fair
it's
enough.
not real.
not just that.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, the Irish. But
Yeah.
here's the other thing: is they're going to be even more technical. What are you going to do with those native slaves? Because there was plenty of them too.
Yeah, they didn't work out
Because
very well. They kind of just like got sad and died, though.
Yeah,
don't
they
matter,
were.
still
Yeah.
gotta
Yep.
still gotta pay them. If you're going to
Well,
pay
no,
everybody
sir.
else, you got to pay them too.
Well, I mean, and of course, these
So
idiots aren't thinking about that. They don't want to do any of that kind of silliness. Of course, they can't do it. I mean, they came to some ridiculous 1 point something odd $1 million, where in reality the reparations would be more like 500 million each. And of course, that's more than GDP of the planet, by the way. But
Yeah.
yeah,
they can't even afford. That's $600 billion. The annual budget of the entirety of California is 300 billion.
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
state that's been perpetually broke for the last 20 years of my life.
even though they make more money than any state in the country. Isn't that interesting?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes,
Fifth largest economy in the world, one state.
Yep.
Um.
that can't afford to. Remember, back as far as 2009, they couldn't afford to hire off-duty cops to do 1 day of service for a funeral, and that's the
That's right.
fifth largest economy in the world
Yeah.
because it's so poorly managed.
It's
Couldn't muster
incredibly
it.
poorly managed.
So
And I'm telling you, they're going to run Newsom against Trump.
I want them to.
They're going to run Newsom.
that's all I'm going
You
to say
know,
if they do
if
it.
they were smart, if they were
I'm
smart,
going
they'd run Kennedy, but they won't because Kennedy is
Yeah.
does not talk in the words that they want to hear, right?
That's right.
Kennedy
He's
would
very
be a smart one because
anti-corporate.
Kennedy could beat Trump.
Well, Kennedy's a Kennedy.
here's the funny thing. Gavin can't talk either. He's
No.
he's
Oh, he's a
he is
moron.
fucking Kamala. He's Kamala Harris with hair gel.
He is. He's
Yeah.
the Trudeau of California. We all know this, but that's who they're going to run against him. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with Trump and DeSantis. I thought that either run him as vice president or just let it sit and DeSantis come up later. But now
Wait.
I
Which
know.
DeSantis? Because the mainstream media can't even properly identify the man. There's at
Yeah.
least 6 articles where the man was identified as Rick DeSantis.
Oh God.
Yes.
So
But no, they're idiots. But after that town hall meeting, nope.
Yeah.
Trump is the dude. Because I was wondering,
oh
could
yeah,
Trump capture it? Probably. But after that town hall meeting, Trump is on fire. He will eat your lunch, dude. Trump is going to
Well,
be the candidate. Now, they'll probably cheat him out of it again, just like they did last time,
Or
because it's
throw him
too
in
well,
jail.
close. It's unfortunately it's too close, right?
well, they just made a crucial mistake this weekend. This week, the dementia administration
Hmm.
repealed the Title 42.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So now they're sending the illegal migrants. They're not just letting them in; they're sending them to certain cities that was heavily in favor of Biden, and they're already whining and crying. They can't come here. We don't even have resources here. You voted for this. All you niggas who was out there electric sliding
Yep.
when Biden won, because I didn't forget. Y'all niggas was out there rapping, singing,
yeah, yeah.
tap
We remember.
dancing. You Mr. Bojangle acting ass motherfuckers.
I
This is
suggest you
what you
go.
voted for.
I suggest you go watch the man himself do Mr. Bojangles live, though. It is impressive, though.
It is. That's true.
Sammy Davis is an amazing performer. But
Well, Sammy Davis was a treasure.
oh yeah, he is really
I
great.
will still listen to Candyman just for the hell of it.
Oh yeah, no, he's great. Go watch his lives, dude. He's really, really good. Great performer. Um, I agree, Roger. It's probably going to be Trump, Kerry Lake. I agree. Yeah.
Oh, if they put Kerry Lake on that ticket, forget about it.
Yep. Get that Mexican vote.
Because
Uh,
Oh yeah,
she's
Carrie.
got a mouth almost like Trump. So
yeah, good. No, I think
I
it's a good ticket.
Here's the thing I like about Carrie Lake. I don't know anything about what her policy. I don't know none of that. Here's what I like about her. She knows how to talk to the media like they're children
Uh-huh.
because they are.
They are.
They behave like children. They ask questions like children. They won't take no for an answer like a petulant child. And she knows how to talk to them.
Yeah.
She was in the media for so long. She knows how to handle it. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. When you can handle the media, I like you. I'm like, yep.
Yep.
Because
Well,
the media are scum. Every
they
one of
are
them.
scum.
yes,
They're scumbags.
They
I
are.
like watching scumbags get got at their own game.
Right. Oh my God, Trump. I haven't seen anyone get browbeat like that in a long time, dude.
It was
He manhandled that lady. I
yeah.
mean, my goodness. Well, I don't even. What was CNN thinking, dude?
They need ratings.
Yeah, but I almost it all. You know what it felt like to me? It almost felt like that Trump paid them to do that. It was
He might
so
have.
bad.
He does have a lot of money.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so bad. First of all, you picked someone who could not get up there and debate with a man whatsoever, because
No.
there were several moments that Trump said things that if I were in her seat, of course, I don't really disagree with a lot of things Trump say, but if I were in that
Yeah.
seat, I would have come back on him and got him on a couple of things because there
Okay.
were like him pulling out the receipt literally from his pocket. Yeah, it was clever, a visual move. But you also say, yeah, well, Mr. Trump, where's your your valification? Why is my tongue not working today? Your
verification.
valid. Where's the
Validation.
confirmation, sir?
Verification. Validation.
Yes, thank you. Those words. But my tongue's not working today. But I mean, she could have got him on a few
Well,
things, but she was
well, he
very,
could
very
retort.
poor choice.
He could retort that because you would say all he would have to do is you would have to consult with the people at Twitter who was in charge of deleting that because
Oh, sure.
I know what video he's talking about. One of them, not all. There was one specifically that he did right after the shit started, and they deleted it, and it's never been seen up there again. Even after they restored his profile, I went up there and looked, and I couldn't find it. So I'm like, oh, you dirty rotten motherfuckers!
Yeah.
I
But,
think you're slick.
yeah, but the thing is, I'm not talking about having success at that particular moment. You would have reduced his retort a
Yeah,
little, right? And the whole time
yeah,
a good debater would have been able to reduce Trump's retorts, and it wouldn't have been as impactful. But she's just incompetent to the nth degree. Incompetent. She came off
very.
as a little petulant kid, That's what she came across as, just like Steven Crowder is coming across as a petulant child recently. He
Yeah.
needs to get his shit together. I mean, I understand that he's going through a hard time with a divorce and stuff, and that's probably the reason he's like that. But he needs to suck it up. You need to suck it up and get it back because you're acting like a damn kid, Steven. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But that's what she was coming across to have, and it was so bad, dude. It was so bad. If you haven't watched that, go watch that because Trump just owns her, and that should not have happened like that. I'm not. I'm happy for it, but I'm just saying that that's.
Well,
I feel
Trump
bad
is
for him.
a when Trump is on, when he's brought his A game, people need to remember who this man is. Like he's not a first of all, he's nowhere near a typical politician. And second of all, when it comes to haranguing haranguing the media, he is the grandmaster. There is no one better on earth in this lifetime, in fact, than Donald John Trump. The man knows how to play the media, and he knows how to play media stooges
Mhm.
and get them to do pretty much whatever he wants. It seems. Um, that's how he got elected.
Right.
They couldn't stop talking about him. He
No,
set it up, and he did this intentionally. Anybody who thinks this wasn't intentional, sorry, you're dumb, because this was intentional. The reason he was so outrageous, why he was always doing these things and doing, like the thing where he was supposedly mocking the crippled person and all that stuff, it was because he knew these people would not be able to stop talking about it. And that is, I mean, that's half the game.
it is.
When you get to the
Um,
booth, you get a bunch of people a lot of people who go to the booth to vote,
well,
they're old or
they
their
are.
mind isn't all there, and they just vote for the one they remember. That
Hmm.
happens.
It happens all the time. Eddie Murphy made a movie about it.
Yep.
The interesting thing with it though is the fact that after Anderson Cooper had to come on and apologize for even doing it, right? To the CNN viewers because they were so outraged. But the first thing he said is, I know how you feel with this man who tried to destroy our democracy came on and lie after lie after lie." And it's like, well, first of all, quantify destroy the democracy, please, Mr. Cooper.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
beyond that, what lies?
Yeah.
Please, what instead of just saying he lied, would you like to demonstrate a lie just once, please?
First of all, the lie was that CNN didn't want him up there when he was probably their single biggest rating in 4 fucking years.
I'm
So
sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
that's lie number one. Because everybody, I'm pretty sure every one of them niggas at CNN, as soon as the cameras went off, they're like, "Yes, we got some viewers."
Oh yeah.
That was
Big
the
into
first
it.
thing they went and did.
I'm sure.
Second,
Yeah.
second, they tried to capitalize on the whole civil trial, and if people, and that's probably got more people on Trump's side than anything because people want to know if our justice system is a sham. You sat there and said, "Well, he was found not liable in rape to a woman who named her cat Vagina,
Mhm.
and openly talked about rape being fun with Anderson Cooper,
Yeah.
and y'all still said he should give her 5 million for
Yep.
what?"
Yeah, for what? They found him guilty on a charge that didn't even exist in the order. I mean, which is
Yes, it
Yes.
does.
illegal, right? You can't do that.
Yeah,
You
I don't
can't.
think it's gonna
That's
hold
not how
up.
you do that.
Civil
You have to.
civil suit. You don't even have. That's another reason. Civil civil suits prove why our justice system is completely fucked because you don't even have to have a preponderance of evidence in a fucking
No.
civil suit.
Well,
It's literally just opinion.
he
Pure
won't.
opinion.
He could easily challenge that and go to a higher court and get it overthrown, and he probably will. A lot of times these rich guys
If he
don't,
has to
but he
pay,
will.
I want him to pay her in the most petty of fashions possible. I would give that bitch $5 million in penny rolls.
Well, keep in mind that the whole reason this thing had no, you're right, but the whole thing, the reason this happened because it's way, way, way past the date, right? But De Blasio
Right.
put in a new law to allow her just a law just for her to be able to sue Trump. He did this,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah,
shows
well,
you the absolute slimy politics of New York, right? Which
yes.
Grimlock and I could tell you stories.
Oh
How
yeah,
about that? I
that's what I'm
mean,
saying. That probably got more people on Trump's side than hell, even that fucking ridiculous town hall, because everybody had seen that kind of shit, and it's like, well, hell, Trump's got money, and if he can't avoid that bullshit, what shot do I have?
right? It's a Kavanaugh thing all over again. But then again, for those of
Yeah.
you who don't know, we could easily start our conversation with Koch. Pretty easily.
Oh God. You know what? You know
Yeah.
what though? He was a shit mayor, and for some reason, people still loved him. He was fucking dog shit, and they still loved him. I don't know if you. Well, you was probably gone by the time this happened, but they had him take over for Judge Wapner in the People's Court, and they
Oh
loved
my,
it.
Jesus.
Yeah,
No, no, that's not surprised me. That's about the perfect place for him. Yeah,
it was, but I mean, fuck. I prefer Judge Mills Lane because it's Mills Lane,
it
but
is Mills Lane. Yeah, but but no, I mean, you got to remember, I'm of the age that I remember Trump going to battle with the New York politicians to just build things, because his papa told him, "Here's $1 million. Go start your own company. Stay out of Manhattan." And what did Trump do? Immediately went to Manhattan.
Yeah.
And he had to fight tooth and nail against those politicians, dude. They're so corrupt. So corrupt. That whole thing, like that ice skating thing that everyone loves in front of Rockefeller Center. We've all seen it. I've skated on it. Where they have the big tree. You know who built that? Donald Trump. And you know how
Donald
much
Jr.
nonsense he had to go through to get that shit done? Unbelievable, dude. Um,
which is ironic because that's where I would have loved to have seen them hang De Blasio right from that fucking tree.
that would have been nice. Would have been nice. But nah, we get this stream of idiots that just going on. I have to say, the new mayor, though, at least he paused when it came to the whole subway thing with the Marine,
Yeah.
and was like, no, 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 no. We're going to wait and let the police do their job. At least he did that. At least he did that. So there's been worse. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's move along here a little bit. However, uh, finally, please
Yeah.
give us a good static. Give us some good icon stuff. Matter of fact, I would like to see Icon before Superman, because we do have Superman stuff. I'd like to see Icon on the big screen. I would like to see him brought to life. I don't think
Well,
James
here's the
Gunn's the
problem.
dude to do it. I do
Yeah.
not.
Exactly.
Um,
Here's the
he-
problem. If he screws up Superman, I think he gets fired.
so don't do
Simple
Icon.
as that.
Yeah, don't do it
Well,
then. Do Icon.
he has to be able to do Superman. Like if he can't do Superman, he can't do this.
Well,
He is the main character of DC. He has to be able to do him.
so hire a dude that can and stay out of the way.
That's the problem. Who can? Who in Hollywood right now would you give a Superman movie
Hmm.
Ooh,
that could pull it off?
Hmm.
There's only
Sylvester
one guy
Stallone.
on my mind. There's only one guy in my mind who could at least get the scale, because that's been the biggest problem with me with the Superman stuff is it never feels as epic as Superman is, right? It just doesn't. The only guy who could pull that scale off right now is Villanueva, but I don't think he could pull off the character.
No, no, he's not the right guy at all. It's
Yep.
not. I would mind seeing him do Batman. It might be interesting.
Yep.
But no, no, no,
Nice
no, no, no,
gothic,
no, no. It's
nice
not.
gothic Gotham.
Yeah, yeah, but it's not. No, not Superman. Who could do a Superman right now?
That's my point.
On you, slack.
Maybe
You know
Ron
what?
could.
Yeah, if he
Ron
decides
Howard.
to
Yeah,
make movies again, um, maybe.
Ron Howard might
Honestly,
be
just
able to.
if if you let if you were to give it a serious take and let Sylvester Stallone at least be like a lead director on it, maybe not be in charge of everything, but because he's a great director when he wants to
Yeah.
be. Maybe honestly,
Shit, let
he
Mel
gets
Gibson
the
do it.
hero.
Actually, he'd
Oh
probably
my
do a good
God,
job.
Mel
Oh,
Gibson, yeah,
they'll never let that happen.
that wouldn't
They will
happen though.
never let
But I
that
bet you
But
he'd do
happen.
a good
you're
job,
actually
though.
he probably would do a fantastic
Well,
job.
no, Roger, Christopher Nolan falls in the same category of Villeneuve. He's not the
Yeah,
right choice for Superman. Batman
no.
maybe, but not Superman. Yeah.
The problem is there's
Okay,
nobody that I've seen make a movie in a very long time that has that spirit of Superman. And I think the
okay,
spirit
okay.
that we all miss when we talk about Superman is sincerity. He is
Mm,
sincere in what he does. It's not like Batman where there's a hint of like, not sarcasm, but jadedness. He's very cynical.
darkness. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Batman isn't, or Superman is not that at all. He's the opposite. He is sincere. He's basically he's like a paladin.
He is a
All right,
paladin. Yes.
here's an oddball choice. I don't think it would happen. George Lucas.
Well, if he had oversight, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, if he had oversight. I'd love to see George have a comeback with a great Superman movie. That'd be poetic
Because
justice, actually.
hey, what was the title? What was the title of the first Star Wars movie? New Hope.
A New Hope.
A New Hope. Yeah. No, no, he as long as he has oversight. But yeah, no, you need someone who has that kind of a cheerful nature to do Superman correctly. One of the things with Batman, I know there's a lot of Batman movies people like, but they really don't get Batman right either because they always like with Ben Affleck was the worst Batman. I know that people, no, he was great. No, he sucked. He sucked. You know why? Because he was angry. Batman never gets angry. Batman is always in control. He always has done his research. He always knows everything. That's his superpower. Not that he's a billionaire, you dumbass Ben Affleck. He is in complete control. That is Batman. He never gets mad. And you got Christian Bale and Ben Affleck. Fuck off, dude. You don't know anything about the character. And Ben Affleck rebuilt the Batcave in his house. It's like you moron. You wasted all that money and you don't even know who Batman is. I mean, Jesus, I'm not surprised Ben Affleck is a moron. But I mean, I hear so many people say, "Oh, his Batman was great." No, it wasn't. It is
No, it
not
wasn't.
Batman.
Well, no,
I agree.
no. I would say this. A lot of people want to play revisionist history as to how polarizing Ben Affleck being casted as
Like
Batman was. Because I remember there was fucking fights about that
Yeah.
shit.
No, there was, and it turned out different than I thought. Because he always does the frat boy. He didn't do that, so good on him for that. But he
Yeah,
claims to be this big Batman fan. He's clearly not. Batman does not get angry. That is
that's why I
not
like
who Batman is.
that's why I like the new movie so much
Yeah,
because that's kind of
calm.
the moral of that. That's kind of the moral of that story. Is he can't just be a normal guy out for revenge.
No,
That can't be what this is about.
no.
And that's
And
what I like about it. So hopefully the next one they continue this thread and we
I
get
mean,
to
I
see
hope
him
so.
become
Well,
that character
I
of the
think
Dark
Matt
Knight.
Reeves knows Batman. I think he understands the
Yeah.
character because if you look in that movie, when Batman strikes, he hits hard and fast. He wants to end it as quick as possible. Sure, but
Yes.
that's not anger. That's
No.
precision
And
and the
decisiveness.
and decisive. And Pattinson in the movie, we don't see he's dour, but he's not
No.
angry, right?
The
He
only
he
time he shows anger is when he thinks Alfred's dying. Right? It's out of
That's
desperation to save
that's
him.
true. That is true. But
That's the
I'm
only
just
time.
saying. But he's also young. This is year two. But
Right.
that's way closer to Batman than any of the other Batman stuff we see. Batman does
That's
not
why I
get
say
angry.
it, Chester. That's the best Batman movie I've ever seen. The other movies are movies about Batman, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because it's
no,
the
yeah,
first one that really like nails that part of his character. That he's very almost monotone in the way he behaves and reacts to things because he has to be. If
it's
he's gonna
much
do
more
what he's
Batman.
doing,
Yeah,
yeah, he has to do
control.
these
Yeah.
things.
Well,
Absolute control at all times.
to be fair, Christian Bale's was the worst Batman by far. And it
I
pains
agree.
me because I like Christian Bale, but that was a horrible Batman.
Was he? You think he was worse than George Clooney?
Well, I don't count those things. Those are tic tac movies. They don't get counted.
The
Um,
one who should have been the best and probably could have been if he wasn't such an ass is Val Kilmer because he
no,
had
that's
the
true.
range
But
to
Val was
play
going
that
through a bad
character.
time.
Yeah,
Everyone loves Michael Keaton, and fair enough. His Batman was controlled. He
yes.
didn't get angry. But to be fair, he never sold me on Batman. I don't know what
No,
all
me
the
neither.
love is. But
Me neither.
whatever. What people like, what they
I mean,
like.
there's
But
a reason they call him the Dark Knight, right?
hmm
One of the tenets of chivalry is control, to control yourself. Um, that's one of the reasons they call him that, right? Is because that's something he exudes is pure stoicism, right? He's always in control. and he never lets that. That's one of the reasons why so many of his villains. That's kind of their thing, is they try to make him lose control, right?
Oh,
Whether it's
Joker
Scarecrow with
particularly. Yeah.
fear, Joker with just everything, right? Like from anger to terror to humor, even
Yeah.
just all sorts of stuff. Joker tries to get him to lose control because Joker understands that what he is pure order. He's pure discipline,
Yeah.
and the only way to beat him is to break that. Um, and he doesn't really want to beat him fully, but I digress. Um, but my point is, that's why so many of his villains are that. They're designed to try to break Bruce and break Batman from this constant control.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is one of the things, like, I agree with you. I think one of the main reasons why a lot of the movies, while they're fine, and like I still love The Dark Knight, I think it's a fantastic film, he's not really Batman though. Right?
No,
Like
it's
he's
not.
just
It's not.
he's not.
It's not. Yeah. And because I've read a lot of Batman comics, and I'm sure you guys have as well. But I can only recall Batman breaking his character twice. Twice. Now, it's probably more than that, but it's not like I've read every Batman, but I've read a lot. And those two, one of them, he was in a fight with I think it was Hugo Strange he was dealing with
Mm.
actually. Yeah, Doctor Strange. Um, but um, he was it was building up to the panels, and he was getting mad. And you know what Batman did when he was starting to get angry? He walked away.
Yes.
Right. I
Totally
remember
true.
that one. I think it was Hugo Strange. And then the other time I saw him break was at the end of the Killing Joke, where he laughs.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the only two times I can recall him losing his cool, losing his composure. But anyway, we need to move on. But I'm happy. I'd love to see a cool icon. Matter of fact, I think it
Me
would be
too.
smart for Gunn to do a test. Find someone who could do a good icon. If they can do a good icon, they could do a good Superman. Man, and roll them together. Why not? Static X. James Gunn could do that perfectly. That's right up his aisle.
Yeah, he'll nail that,
Yeah,
I
he'll
think.
nail that.
Uh
So
the
that'll be
the
great.
one that's gonna be hard, man, is Superman.
Yeah, I
And
know.
it's the most important
Yeah,
one.
I know.
So I hope I'm wrong. Listen, when I say he's a hack, I don't mean he's a bad director. He's very good at what he does,
He
but
is.
I don't think he can do anything else. I
Yeah.
think he's got his one note and he can play that note till the cows come home. But if you give him something else, he's not going to be able to do it. And I just hope I'm wrong because I want a good Superman
Yeah.
movie more than I want anything
Well,
else right now from Hollywood.
to be fair, if he put the hard work in and he was very seriously, no, I'm going to show that I'm more than you think I am. And he
Yeah.
took that challenge up and himself put out a great Superman, I would respect him even more. Because in the
Yep.
position he has, if he's taking it seriously, and I hope he is, he could stamp his name on Hollywood. He could.
Yep.
He could, and I hope he's taking it very seriously, and I'm assuming he is, because you got to keep in mind. I know the whole thing with the edge lord shit and all that kind of nonsense has put a lot of bad taste in people's mouth. I get it, but you got to remember where he's coming from. He's coming from trauma, right? This guy cut his teeth the hard way. It's not like a lot of these kids that come out of these universities and get the opportunities because they have the right daddy or they have the right politics. James Gunn, beat his head against the wall for decades, dude. Right? So the guy has the potential to get in there and do something amazing, and we'll see, because we haven't seen anything yet. We've seen nothing from Gunn yet. All we're
Yep.
getting is this leftover crap. Once again, the Amber Heard problem with Aquaman, but also it's a dead IP. So why go?
Right.
Why bother go watch it? The Flash, it's a pseudo dead IP, and it's got freaking Ezra Miller all throughout it. So it
Yep.
has nothing to do with him though. So we haven't seen his foray yet. So we'll have to keep our. We just did Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So we'll see what he does with DC. Anyway, moving on. Speaking
Speaking
of
of,
this,
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 star Chris Pratt reveals his Christian faith helps him find solace every time he is targeted by the cancel culture mob.
I bet you it
Uh,
does.
I wouldn't. Yeah, that sounds about right. And they
Sounds
come
about right.
after him all of the time for that alone.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing else.
No.
What's he ever done that's in any way offensive to anybody besides just be really,
He
really good at acting?
played a fat guy on TV.
Yeah, and he was beloved. It
Yeah,
launched his career.
yeah.
So I don't know. I can think of nothing else other than the
Well,
fact that he's openly a devout Christian.
yeah, that's the only thing. They really hate that. But the interesting thing is he got in of course, another controversy because he got on, I think it was Twitter, and he showed his grody, crusted pinky toenail. It was really bad looking. He thought it was funny. He put a tweet of it up, and people started
Yep.
making noise. So then he took it and he put it on the heads of all of the what's that new Star Wars that's coming out? Acolyte? Is it Acolyte
Yeah.
or something like that? He put his grody toe and replaced the faces of all these people, and he thought it was funny. And Maria Shriver, his mother-in-law,
Okay.
it got was upset enough that she actually went on Twitter and told him to take that down. Right?
Oh,
Uh,
Chris.
it's interesting he married into that family, huh?
Of all people, right?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
I mean, of course,
Um,
you do have Arnold's side of it, but keep in mind, Arnold's wife there, Shriver, those are Kennedys, dude.
yeah, he's American royalty now,
Hmm.
and good
I,
for him,
kn-
to be
I,
honest.
yeah. Well, I know because my mother's family are Connollys, and they're the part of the original Mayflowers, the Connollys, Allens, people like that. And every year, the Kennedys at the Kennedy compound, they have, or at least they used to, they had a big old Mayflower family reunion type of party. Now they do one down in New York too. That is for because there's plenty of people that have that bloodline. That's a big one. But the one at the on Martha's Vineyard is for the Honto direct descendants of the Mayflower.
Mm.
And I got dragged to that shit every damn year until I was old enough to say, "Nah, I ain't going." Right. So I've seen, I told you I met Arnold Schwarzenegger. He actually muffed my hair.
Yep.
Yeah. Because, and it's at that event, right? Once a year, but we had to go because of my mother. My mother was so enamored with that connection because the Conleys, sure, they're one of the original American families, European families, sure, but they're just fishermen. I mean, they make good money. Fishermen, they own their boats, so they're not poor, but they're just fishermen, right? And
Yep.
shipbuilders and things like that. I got a couple of uncles that really made a lot of money, but most of them are just fishermen, right? But that connection was so important to her of you know, keeping up with the Joneses, right? And
Hmm.
oh
Yep.
god, I hated it. Those little rich brats. Jesus.
The worst part about the stuff with Pratt is everybody who knows him absolutely adores him, right? Like all the people, all the cast in this movie love him. I don't think he's ever had a co-star come out and say anything negative about him.
No,
Um,
it's just ambiguous hate. Yeah, there's nothing specific. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, whatever. But I thought the toe
it's
thing was funny. Yeah,
it is pretty funny.
yeah. But whatever. I'm glad he has faith to fall back on. He doesn't talk about it very much. He doesn't. They scream about it all the time, which is interesting because he doesn't bring up God much. Some like Mark Wahlberg talks about God way more than Chris Pratt does, right?
Yeah, he's a devout Catholic.
He is devout. And a few others as well, like Mark Sorbo and people like that. But Chris here, he doesn't talk about it very much. But they just is because he's popular and they can't stand it. And oh well, I'm glad you have some solace there, buddy, and you keep doing what you're doing because in general he's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
got a pretty sweet life.
he does, and he's happy. He's married. His wife seems to be sticking beside him very strongly. But I hear she's religious as well,
Yeah, I
which
think
is
they've got
I
weird
a house
hope.
coming out
together.
of that family.
Well, I'm sure she's seen some things.
I'm sure she has, but I mean,
Like, you know what?
well,
There's got to be a God out there. I'm gonna go find him. I got
well, maybe Chris had an influence on her.
could be.
Maybe
Yeah,
he influenced her and she found something better. Because I hear she's fairly religious as well. We know that family she's coming out of isn't.
No.
I can guarantee this, dude. Like I said, I have. It's only once a year, but I met those people every year. They are not religious, dude.
Well, that might be the reason. She's like looking around at these. So he was like, "I need Jesus."
Need
You
some
need
Jesus in
Jesus,
here.
baby. So who knows? Maybe that's exactly what happened because I don't know these people at all. I'm not friendly with them. I can't name them by name, but I've
You know
seen
what
them in
really
action.
sucks is that he was Star Lord when he should have been Han Solo in that Han Solo.
Mhm. He
It
Yeah,
would
should
have
have been
been
him.
better at it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
but
I mean, Star Lord is basically Han Solo. Like,
that was a train wreck from the beginning though.
yeah,
But anyway, I just saw this and I was like, good for you, dude. Good for
good
you.
job, Chris.
Yeah.
Get on it.
There are a couple other things I want to get here before time runs out, though. So let me get into it. This right here, I was just kind of bringing up the page and just to see the absolute noise that's going on. It's insane, dude. This whole thing with the Queen Cleopatra is blown up in their face, hardcore, because it literally is 1% from the audience, but the critics also hate it.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, so once again, this Jada Pinkett Smith blackwashing. Blackwashing isn't a thing. Sure, it is. Why wouldn't it be?
Why?
Just yellow washing, white washing, red washing, brown washing.
Definitely.
It's an adjective, young lady.
That's right.
Yeah. It's like these idiots say that racism you can't be racist if you're against whites, and it's like, huh? Of
yes, you can.
course you
Well,
can.
if that's the case, then nobody's racist to anybody ever because it doesn't mean anything.
Well, they've tried to change the definition, and the smug
Uh-huh.
nature of some of these young black girls is crazy.
They'll find out how badly they need Whitey.
Yeah, well,
Because
we all kind of exist here together, don't we?
yeah,
Anyway, more of this, stuff with Elon. It looks like BTS has got a comic book coming. Good for you, I guess. They're a bunch of gay Korean boys. Oh, fuck right off, dude. Yeah, you
oh
keep that
god.
collar on. You keep that collar on. You creep. You creep. Although people were complaining about his voice as Donkey Kong, and it's just because they hate him, and I understand, but he was fine.
Me too.
Yeah, the Donkey
Me too.
Kong
Yeah,
voice
I
was
understand
fine.
why they. Yeah, he did fine.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, that kind of worked.
It
Like his
worked
voice
really
kind of
well.
worked for Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah. But like I said, it's a kid movie. It's a little kid movie. There's a
That's right.
couple of jokes here or there for the mom and dad who's taking the kid, but it's not for adults. It's for kids. And there's nothing wrong with that. And he did it fine. Donkey Kong was portrayed in a great. I think they did a great job of Donkey Kong actually.
I do too.
I think the whole thing they did a good job. But just keep in mind, it is a little kid movie though. If you're a
Yep.
solo adult, you probably don't waste your time with Mario guy.
And
Uh,
maybe rethink your decisions. Just say.
yeah, well, I'm just saying it's not for you, dude. It's a little kiddie movie. The pace is ridiculous. It's a little short, quick movie. It's perfect for little kids. It's perfect for
Yep.
little kids.
I
And
love it.
yeah, I
It's
thought it was
exactly what
cute.
it needed to be, and
Hmm.
nothing more, and nothing
Hmm.
less. And that's all I asked for.
That's
That's
right.
it.
That's
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 all
right.
I wanted.
Yeah. Peach wasn't annoying at all.
Nope.
She was actually quite endearing. Whoever the actress who voiced her, I thought was fine. Occasionally, she sounded a little older than she probably should had, but whatever. I thought it was solid all the way along. My favorite character, without question, is Cranky Kong. Yes. Without question, he was awesome. But no, it was a good, fun movie. So even though Seth Rogen's an absolute piece of shit, he did a good job.
Yeah.
I already talked about this. The whole Tucker Carlson thing. Uh, um, uh, this thing about people writing for various things that aren't even in Hollywood, but whatever, being called scabs. Ooh, haven't heard that word since the 19th century. Um, this guy here,
You know
Paul
when it's
Chato.
when it's all the worst people in the world
Yeah.
and they're just fighting, it's just I don't how do you lose when you're watching these cretins fight with each other? It's just like I understand why the gladiator games were fun to watch. I get it. I
Oh
get
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
'cause a
But
lot of people don't want to admit it. A lot of people was rooting for the lion.
it's true. It is true. But there's just so much nonsense I could have talked about, but we've talked about it before, and there's nothing new. It's just the same nonsense over and over again. Once again, this little girl here who's getting an opportunity, good for you. I hope you are smart with your money, young lady. But that's about all I got to say about that. Because the thing is, we complain about a lot of movies and things, and even if it's a bad movie, I still have sympathy, and I use the word sympathy, not compassion, actual sympathy for the people who do all the work. All the
Yeah.
cameramen, all the people sitting on the computers, all the people walking around doing this set design and costume design, all those people, even if for the shittiest movie, unless it's just a couple of idiots
Damn,
walking around
Leslie,
like Peter Jackson with a
ugly stuff.
goddamn handheld, unless it's
Yes.
that, I feel sympathy for them because they're putting a lot of hard work and love into something. They really are.
Yep.
And we shouldn't forget that.
Well,
Don't
and in
become jaded to
fairness,
that.
most of the time they're not the problem, right? The movies look great.
Yeah, that's
It's
true. Yeah.
everything else that's the
Yeah.
problem.
It is true. Yeah. But I just, a lot of times we knock on movies a lot, but we do got to remember there's a lot of people involved and they are putting their best foot forward, right?
Yeah.
So, that ain't gonna
No, I
work.
want Hollywood to stop being degenerate communist psychopaths
Yeah,
and
well,
just make good cinema again.
I
Just
think
please.
you need
Can
to
I
go
please?
you need to go back 100 years there for that one there, boy.
Well, if they refuse, then they need to burn to the ground, and all those nice people can go work for the new companies that will replace them because they will,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
everybody wins because maybe we'll get some, quality art from the old silver screen again.
Yeah.
Which,
Well,
in fairness, last year I do think was genuinely one of the best years in Hollywood's history as far as like high quality, even big budget films. There was just a number of them that I think people will remember forever.
yeah, but you got to keep in mind that when Hollywood was created, it was a
Hmm.
little bit different than because remember before the war, the French and German cinema were the kings of cinema, right?
Yep.
And it was the because of the war that threw everyone down, and the Americans are sitting high on the high life, and all those Jewish vaudeville people that went west to give it a shot and good on for it were the ones sitting the opportunity to take the throne, and they did. But you got to
Yep.
remember, a lot of those guys had such success in the East that they were very wealthy and they were very political. And at that time, people don't like to talk about it, but Marxism was the shizness of that
Yep.
period. And everybody who was anybody who wanted to talk about it and act like they were part of it, right? There's a reason why McCarthy went after Hollywood for during his communist purge. There was a reason for it because
Yep.
they were. And a lot of them were communists simply for fashion's sake. The dyed in the wool guys were rare. Charlie Chaplin being one, right? But they did exist because it was the fashion of the time for those kind of people, the bourgeoisie, right? It changed from being rich and drunk and having syphilis until after the whole Marxist revolutions that popped up everywhere to becoming socialists. That's what happened.
Hmm.
The bourgeoisie became socialist, and they're still here. Matter of fact, what do they call them these days? Champagne socialist, don't they?
That's right.
Yeah. But anyway, this goes on and on and on. It would go away, Mister Salesman, Mister Salaryman, office worker. Go away. Take Aquafina with you. Uh,
Oh God, please.
Tom is he's a Greek citizen, by the way. Just keep in mind he's not American. He's Greek.
For
Um,
some weird reason. Yeah.
he's getting mad at the publishers. Finally, it took you a
Good.
while, Tom,
Good.
because they're
It's a
rewriting
good thing.
everything, right? That they don't agree with, right? All these
Literally
publishers, yeah,
rewriting.
literally,
Yeah.
yeah,
Which is just evil.
yeah, it
Just
is.
call it what it is.
Took you a while, Tom. Here's a Dave Filoni that says, "No, Thrawn is the big deal." Uh huh. Well, you kind of screwed that up, didn't you? All right.
Yeah, how's that gonna work?
Nonsense, nonsense. I don't care. Uh, fuck off, Shilleries. You ain't kicking anyone's ass. Please, please. You're not kicking anyone's ass. And you know the thing that's so dumb about this drag queen shit? No one has a problem with drag queens. I mean, well, I'm sure
Yep.
there's some, but in general, who cares? It could be funny, but it's an adult show. It has not. This
That's right.
isn't anti drag queen thing that's going on. It's keeping drag king queens away from little kids.
It's those specific ones who, for some reason, feel a need to do this shit in front of children.
That's the point. It's not against
Yeah.
drag queens. It's against the sexualization of children. And she's coming out and I will fuck anyone up who is like trying to
Uh huh.
fuck with anything with you guys.
Weighs 120 pounds
You
soaking
ain't
wet. What do you
fucking
mean?
anyone up. Matter of fact, Megan Kelly came in and challenged her. Did you see that? Megan Kelly's like, "Oh, who you gonna kick someone's ass? Well, kick my ass." I was like, "You go, Megan."
Get her, Megan. Megan
Mm.
fuck her up, I bet. Get her, Megan.
Megan probably would fuck her up. But I'm just saying, it's so dumb. We've seen a lot of these people threatening these transgenders. Man, they're unstable. They really are, because they're so violent, right? They can't
Yeah.
have a conversation. They're violent, dude.
Chester, they
I
hate
just want to
us.
see her take that swing at a first grown ass man, and I want to see the look on her face when that motherfucker hauls off the Mississippi and knocks the piss out of her. Because I want to see that look on her face when she realizes her little ass ain't on a movie set no more,
Yeah.
and
No. She
nobody
ain't a stunt
yelled
double.
cut,
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
that ass whooping is just getting started.
Yeah, no, it's dumb. But of course, like I said, it goes on and on and on and on and on. Go see Sisu. That was fun. This guy is saying, "Be patient. We're coming with it." Okay, we're talking about that. Oh, who cares? No one cares anything at all about Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. No one cares. It's dumb. Jedi Survivor, she's pansexual. Once again, no one gives a shit. What does that even mean? Didn't you already have a word for that you use called bisexual? Didn't you already have a word? Now you have pansexual. What does that
Yeah, I
mean?
don't. I don't know. It means you'll have sex with ghost men.
Toasters?
What?
Goats? What does this mean?
Doors? What are you? What are you having set? Where are you putting your genitals? And why?
Well, I'm saying
You
we
weirdo.
already had a word for it.
It's
Bisexual,
weird.
right? Am I
It is.
missing something here, Grimlock?
No, sir, you are not.
Okay, good, because
They're just retarded.
they are
Yeah,
retarded. It's stupid, and besides, there's no such thing as bisexual anyway. You're the gay, you
that's right.
ain't. Um,
You're
uh,
just a whole.
yeah,
And that,
you're just a
to be
slut.
honest
Yeah,
with you, to be honest with you, the fact that Guardians looks like it's not going to make the money they thought it would is, while encouraging, it's also kind of sad because now they're going to put out movies. They're putting out movies that are decent that people probably should watch, and they're just not going to. They're done, and that's a shame. But they shot themselves in the foot here. Plus, it's also like everybody knows James Gunn's leaving, so why am
Yeah,
I watching this movie? Like, what?
yeah,
What is the
no,
but that's
main
what I
that's a
was
good
thing?
saying.
point.
That's
Uh,
what I was saying earlier. Everybody knows that's it for the Guardians. There is no
yeah, it's done.
Well,
part four. There's no
here's the thing, though.
everybody has said it's done.
It
At
is
the end
done.
of the movie, at the end of the credits, the post credit scene, there's a thing that says the legendary Star Lord will return. So at some point, Chris Pratt's coming back to play that character. I would assume
Oh, maybe
that's
in
what
an
that means.
Avengers or something. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's fine, but it's as much as I like Chris Pratt and Chris Pratt as Star Lord is good. Is he going to be enough for it to carry a movie?
Well, it depends on
Depends.
the movie, but
Depends.
probably
Yeah.
not.
Um, I almost talked about this article today, but I didn't see the point because we've already said it a million times. But I do love that the Millennium Falcon is also now gay. That's perfect.
That's right. Yes, gay icon.
But
Yeah.
I love the little comment here from Kathleen Kennedy, the evolution of Jedi. Well, they've had 1,500 years of evolution, Kathleen. Maybe you should investigate that.
I mean,
I mean, she's acting like that Yoda was the first Jedi. I'm like, what?
no, the
This
Jedi have been
woman.
around for like 20,000 years in the
Yeah,
lore.
no, a ridiculous amount of time. But in their canon, it's only like 1,500. They changed it. They changed it. I was
Oh
going by what they did.
God.
But even though with that, it's still a lot of stuff you could talk about. But no, no, no. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, now it's changing. You do know that the Jedi are against the whole union of peoples because you need to be focused on yourself to be a great Jedi. They don't allow
That's right.
the hanky panky.
Which is one of the things that you wrote this character off and turned him into a random alien tit sucker. One of the things he fixed, I would say, in the new Jedi Order, was it wasn't always banned. There was exceptions to
Yeah.
marriage and
Well,
things
there's
for
an
Jedi.
evolution there. And there you go.
Yeah,
But we're not going
there's
to
your
talk about that.
evolution. But no, 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 no. Because Luke, you see, Luke's a bastard man who tried to murder his own nephew in his sleep.
I know it's ridiculous.
There's no
Anyway,
forgiveness. There will
I've
be no forgiveness for
there
that.
will be none. I have 9 minutes left, so I want to get to my last story, and I need you guys to tell me the truth of this because I know a bit about wrestling, but I am not an expert. Is this true, dude?
From what I understand, yes.
Oh,
Um, he hurt his back last year
they did
and had to have
fusion surgery.
fusion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it worked, but they don't think his back's strong enough to go back to taking bumps. And that's
Wow,
literally
dude.
his main thing is dropping right to his back with the RKO.
Right, right,
And
right.
if it's true and he can't, get them, I they haven't said no. They just said they don't think he should, right? They haven't said don't do it. They just have advised against it. So it's not the same as like he's not medically cleared. He's not anything yet. He's
Right.
just as of right now, they're advising him not to.
Well, in this
Um,
article, his dad, who is of course a wrestler as well, Bob Orton, he sounded a little exasperated, saying, "Well, Orton's going to do what Orton does." You
yeah,
know,
it's Randy's call.
Randy, basically. But he sounded like he didn't want him to, right?
Yeah.
Talk about Randy, his son. Yeah, here, Randy will do what Randy is going to do. He always does. It doesn't sound positive. But that's a shame, though. I just saw this article, and because Randy, he's really been a quintessential wrestler. He looks like the quintessential wrestler. He's done everything. He's gotten people over, a lot of people. He's good for the business, Randy Orton,
Yeah.
as far as I understand. And it's a shame to see him out because for a wrestler, it's a bit young.
Well,
Yeah.
not just
That's fair.
that, but I think most athletes, and I know some people, the whole wrestling is fake bullshit, but
No, no.
no matter what, most athletes would not want to see their career end on an injury.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
And
I
these
he
mean,
was
guys put
having
their
like
bodies out there. Yeah.
he was having like a renaissance too there. He was in a really popular storyline, and it was really he was back being main eventing in a tag team for crying out loud. Like that's how popular storyline was, and it was working, and everything was kind of flowing with him. And then he got hurt, and he just had to go away, and he's been gone for a year now.
Wow.
And his back is just not healing like they were hoping it would. And that's a shame. That's a real shame because, in my estimation, this is one of the greatest to ever do it. And I know a lot of people don't like Randy Orton for some reason, probably just they got bored of him. But I've always liked Randy Orton,
No, he's quintessential wrestler, dude. He can do everything.
even before he was the Viper and the Legend Killer, and he made one. I think it's like 14 world championships, whatever it is. Even before all that, I've always liked him. He's smooth in that ring. There's
Well,
nobody besides Okada in Japan right now who's like that. They're just smooth like
yeah.
butter.
Well,
They don't make mistakes.
he's the modern Bret Hart, is what he
Yeah,
is, right? Um,
smooth,
yeah,
silky.
yeah. It's really unfortunate. Now I know with the company he'll end up probably doing something, commentating or managing. He'll do something with the company if he
Yeah,
wants to. I'm sure
yeah.
he's earned
They'll give him
that.
a Legends contract and just pay
Something,
him to
yeah,
exist,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. I actually like the fact that they do that.
Yeah,
Um, Adam Copeland was out with a spinal injury. He came back. No, sure. But
yeah.
this sounds
It's possible.
pretty serious, though.
It's possible. Like it just depends on
yeah.
how it heals. And back is just one thing they say about back surgery is there's no guarantees. It can sometimes make the problem worse
Yeah,
after a back
Yep.
surgery. It's
yeah.
just so delicate. And I think unfortunately it'll be up to him and up to the WWE's doctors, of course, because if they don't clear him, he's not working.
Hmm.
Simple as.
Hmm.
But if they do say he can work, but it's not recommended, but he can do it. He's probably gonna do it. Like Randy is one of those guys who I don't think he's going to stop just because he's got a bad back.
Well,
Let's
if
put
I
it
had,
that way.
well, maybe, yeah, but if I had my druthers, I would rather it happen to Jericho.
You're not alone.
Damn.
I
So,
think you're right though. What'll end up happening is if he can't work, he'll just be probably a color commentator for him because Randy
yeah.
can talk.
Hmm.
He's not a bad talker. So you give him a little bit of time, let him get used to that, and I think he'd be fine in that role as a color commentator.
Yeah.
think they actually need one because besides or even Wade to some degree, they suck. Their color commentators do. So they could actually use one who was a monster heel like Orton was. Because my God, there was a time where this dude, he did every bad thing. He was hitting women. He was doing all of it. He
Mm.
didn't care.
He was a full-on heel. Is Hangman
Yep.
Page related to Dallas?
No.
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, a
I
lot of
can see why
legacy
you
in
think that
wrestling. I'm
though.
just asking.
He looks a little like him.
Girl, go back. You need to go to Hollywood and get some implants. You need implants. Just telling you, you're representing Japan too much here. Too realistic. Okay.
No.
Poor
No. Leave Kana-chan alone.
Asuka.
But I saw that article and I was like, oh, that sucks, dude. AEW wrestler learned about her exit from the company from other talent. Yeah, that happens all the time. There's plenty of people learn they were kicked out by hearing it on the radio or the TV, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
the cowardly people. Yeah.
Yeah,
Although, yeah,
it's a shame with Randy though. Like I said, I've always really liked Randy Orton, even when people were against him. Um, they were just bored of him, really more than anything. But he's going to go down as one of the best to ever do it, regardless of whether he ever actually gets to wrestle again. I hope he can at least get like a proper go home match, right? Proper retirement match, even if it's something tag match or I don't know, something where he doesn't have to bump. Just because he deserves it. He doesn't deserve to go out that way after all these years and everything he's done. He deserves more than that. And I think honestly, the fans deserve more than that because, like I said, he was crazy over before he got hurt. Like it was the most he probably ever been. I actually thought I was surprised they hadn't put him in line for main event title shots and stuff
right.
because I don't remember him ever being that popular.
Why do you think Saudi Arabia changed their mind on this gay guy here?
Why you got to call Sammy gay? He's a happily married man.
I think because of the last year and a half with the story that they've had going,
Yeah,
and he was really over in that.
they're portraying him as a gay man, right?
No.
Yeah. Are you sure? Look pretty gay to me.
He's actually one of the most popular guys in the company right now, Sami Zayn.
No, that's okay. You can be gay and be popular. It's okay.
Thanks to Roman Reigns, but we won't
Yeah,
talk about.
yeah, yeah. But I remember I played football my whole life when I was a kid. But I was playing football. I think it was high school, maybe. I think it was high school, and there was a kid on the team who was everyone knew was gay kid, right? And no one really cared beyond that. I mean, whatever. No one cared. But I know that during football practice, he never got hit hard though, because everyone was afraid to touch him, to get near him, right? Uh, so I don't know if that's good or bad, but I do.
Nobody actually wanted to smear the queer, is what you're telling me?
No, no, it was quite the opposite. It's like the coach would get mad and yell at us.
No, that's actually kind of cool though, because they didn't want him there before, because he's what is he? Syrian. His parents are Syrian,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so they didn't want him anywhere near Saudi Arabia. They're not friends,
Mhm.
but for whatever reason, they're allowing him now. Like I think Grimlock's right though. He's just too over. They need him
Yeah.
there, right? He's one of
Well,
these guys.
I have a more political answer for you.
Uh oh.
Um, it's because if you haven't, the people have not been paying attention, and I have a feeling this might be something of Donald Trump's doing, and maybe this might be a negative actually. But Saudi Arabia has kind of given up on America, and
Uh oh.
they've turned their back on the West, and they're actually making deals and negotiating with, wait for it, Iran, Iran,
That's
Iran.
crazy.
That is their mortal enemy. The Wahhabists hate Iran more than any other group, but yet they've been negotiating and doing things with Iran. And who's negotiating it? Would you like to guess? Russia.
Yep.
Wow. I've
Not
seen
good.
movement. No, I've seen movement between those two. I can't believe it's going on, but it is. It's happening.
The
And
world is tired of America's bullshit. It's just
yeah,
simply what it is.
it is. And I think that that new prince over there, I think he's because he one thing he's been making noise about forever is he wants Saudi Arabia to be in the new caliphate. He wants to reinstate the caliphate. Remember, it hasn't been around since the Ottoman Empire fell, right?
Yep.
And he really wants it to be caliphate. Of course, every little terrorist group that pops their head up wants to be the new caliphate. So one of the problems is you got a ton of these people running around and we're the new bosses. And honestly, Islam would be in a way better place if they did have a caliphate. It would be
Yeah.
the smart move would to be help to create a caliphate. That would
Yes.
be a good thing because
Would
under
bring
the Ottoman
some.
Empire, there were some bad things that happened, of course, but mainly what happened, technology grew, trade grew, the Ottomans, Byzantines, Tartarians, whatever the hell you want to call them, they dominated for centuries and they weren't living under this nonsense that you're seeing these terroristic Islamists doing now. They weren't like that at all.
No.
And I really think I know some people get mad at me for saying this, but I really think Islam needs a caliphate. It would reduce the violence greatly.
Well, because the most people they kill are other Muslims,
Oh yeah, all the time.
the radicals, whatever,
Yeah,
constantly,
yeah,
1200, 1400 years, whatever it's been. Uh,
sure.
so they need to have that structure. It dramatically reduced
Hmm. Yeah,
because they have an actual governing body to control it and keep it under control. One of the worst things America's ever done was we keep going over there and overthrowing these countries and propping up these dictators or whatever. And I mean, we create all sorts of enemies for the entire region, not just for us, but for everybody who's got to live over there and deal with it. So yeah, they're tired of it. I don't blame them. I'd be tired of it too. I'm tired of it, and I'm not even over there watching my family get blown up at weddings and shit.
yeah. No,
Um,
well, Obama,
yeah,
okay.
It's just something's got to give, and I'm actually glad for it. I think it's scary. It's terrifying that an Asian union like that's a power.
It
That's a
is.
power that's
Um,
something we can't stop.
Yeah, and you're right, Adrian. The Chinese are also involved. Of course, they are. India as
Yep.
well. But keep in mind, America. Well, because this isn't new, we do it all the time. But keep in mind, we just tried to perform a coup d'état in Pakistan the other day, and the people rioted so hard that the government, who was working with the Americans, had to back it up. Right?
Yep.
But we're constantly creating coup d'états, so watch out for stuff happening in Saudi Arabia. But anyway, I just put this list of terrorist incidents in 2023, and since the beginning of this year, right? And this list is talking about major incidents because it's Wikipedia. However, if you go look other places, it'll give you a much bigger list because every month there are dozens. But let's just take a look at this truncated Wikipedia version that you're allowed to see. All right.
Mm.
So, January 11th, suicide bombing, 20 dead, 20 plus dead, injured unknown, Kabul, Afghanistan. Tehran, Jerusalem, Pakistan, 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 Russia. Now that
Yep.
was, Ukrainian. But if you go and you look at other places that keep actual information, let's see if this one does. You usually have to do a little research to find the actual good numbers, but I'm just doing a quick thing here. This probably isn't going to help me. But anyway, if you go do a little bit of research, eventually you'll find a list and numbers.
Yep.
And you would be shocked how many of these things happen every single month. Every month for
All over.
decades. And they're all killing each other. It's very rare that it actually implodes on us. It's quite rare, right? It's like 1%, less than 1%. But if they had a caliphate in place, this would be greatly reduced, and you'd probably see much less terrorism outside of the Muslim world as well. So
Yes,
anyway,
I agree. I think it's inevitable, to be honest with you, because I genuinely believe the next 50 or so years you're going to see Turkey, especially, as like they'll be one of the central figures of the rising caliphate. Um,
maybe they were.
and they're going to be
Yeah.
they're going to become a very powerful force in that region. Now, I
Mm.
don't know if they're going to be able to get go much outside of it and have great reach because they never kind of could, but they don't need to. To be incredibly powerful, you just have to control that region. That region is the most important for trade in the world besides the South China Sea.
Hmm.
Like, you control that, and it has been since forever. You control that, and you control a lot of the world's money, and that's where the power is.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's where we're heading because I just think the American hegemony is over. America hasn't realized it yet, but as we just like you said in Pakistan, they tried to overthrow Pakistan. That didn't
Right.
work.
No,
Just
well,
didn't work.
there's a lot of dents coming into it, that's for sure. I
Yep.
wouldn't count America out completely yet, but we've definitely taken some hits.
Yep.
But no, these people are joining together and trying to, and I don't blame them. I can't blame them
No.
because they're under constant attack. And the thing is with the Turkic people. Or the Scythians, or whatever, they've had many names throughout the years, the Khazars, and all that kind of stuff. They've always been a prominent place because of where they sit. They are the gateway to Asia.
Yep.
And it is an incredibly economically friendly situation for them. Now they've been sucking lately, and that's because Erdogan's an idiot and they need
Yes.
to get rid of that idiot. But he's basically a dictator. They try to, they came out and said, "Oh, they tried a coup d'état against me." No, they didn't. We now have the evidence. We know he created that situation himself to make himself look, like he was under threat, and he survived it. Right? He did that. That was internal. That thing. And keep in mind, they killed some of their own citizens for that, right? But Turkey could be an amazing balance to the problem because one thing the Turkic people have always been is balanced. They're far
Mhm.
more interested in trade than they are religion,
That's
and
true.
that's just the reality of it. And during that, like I said, you call it whatever you want. When it ended, it was they were calling themselves the Ottomans. Fair enough. But during that many century period, they changed the world, dude. And people
Yes.
don't understand that. Western people don't like to talk about something that's not Western centric, right?
Well, the
But
reason why the West became so freaking unbelievably powerful was in response to their expansionism. They had to. It
yeah,
was not an option. They either did or they died.
well,
Simple as that.
that's true. But I also think that I feel that there was a little bit of nature in on their side
Yes.
because whatever happened 200 some years ago with Krakatoa going off in Indonesia, um, I think it was far worse than and they said it was bad, but I think it was far worse than even that, because the Ottoman Empire was stretched thin, their power was greatly reduced, and the Europeans took advantage of the situation. A lot of people try to say, well, they made these secret war and stuff. No, there was no secret war. They just they were lucky. Natural disaster gave them the opportunity to get the upper hand, and they took it. Yeah, and that's what
And
we're living
as
under
of
the past
yet,
couple of 250 years.
yeah, haven't lost it. And that's why
Yeah,
it's so silly to me when people say things like, "Oh, white supremacy is everywhere." Blah, blah, blah." Like you're just ignorant. You just don't know anything.
yeah.
The white man except for like in Roman times, but for a very long time between has been kind of that area's bitch for a very long time
Oh,
up
yeah.
until recently historically.
Yeah.
And that is you just don't know what you're saying. You have
No,
no idea what you're talking about. None.
no. We've
When you
been
say these
fighting
kind
it
of
for a
things.
long time. Like this right here. I just saw another special the other day about an in-depth look at the world's most evil terrorist, racists. Let's
Oh
ask a
god.
question here. No, not that. Let me do this instead. Let's see. see if I can find a number that gives me still based in 22 states. Because last time I checked, there was like 1,600 members worldwide or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know. This is on Google. I seriously doubt I can find any information. Oh, here we go. Groups, Mississippi, which I don't know if you've ever been to Mississippi, but okie dokie. They
Yeah.
have five.
Yeah.
Five. The
That
largest
evil
number is five.
that evil KKK is gonna get
Yeah,
you.
five.
White supremacists
Yeah.
coming, guys.
But they keep going on and on and on and on about it. They, like I said, they just made another documentary about it, and it's like, what are you doing? This group is defunct for a long time, and they keep they're harping on it, but they seem to forget this is a part. This is a group that was created by the Democratic Party.
Yep.
You're not
Have they?
supposed to tell people that.
I mean, have you forgotten? But
They
I
hope
mean,
so.
they keep going on about those guys. And still, in fact, when I was in the South, because I have spent time down there, KKK wasn't mentioned at all. You know who was mentioned? Blue Star. Now, I haven't
Yeah.
heard anyone even mention their name at all, and I know they're way bigger. And
I
that's a
think they
real
got
hate group.
I think they got largely taken out, not
Good.
totally, but largely taken out in the 90s
Oh,
because they
good.
were really cracking down on that stuff. Because after Vietnam, what they were scared of was insurgency in America
Mm,
because there was a lot of people who went through some shit over in Vietnam and they were afraid, when they got back here, they would build networks and create basically guerrilla organizations.
yep.
And so they cracked down hard on all of that stuff, on biker gangs, on militias. They still do. The Michigan militia is massive, and they still go in there and break up and do all kinds of nonsense to arrest certain people of it and stuff
Right.
all the time. And I'm pretty sure that happened to them too. They got infiltrated, or they just pulled the mask off,
Right.
and that was it. Basically, they got
Well,
picked
good.
apart.
Hopefully, they'll
Yeah.
get to Black Lives Matters and Antifa next.
Well, they're not going to get them. They're paying for them.
That's true. What is a
They're funding those
Fedi?
guys.
What is a Fedi boy? I don't know what that is, Adrian.
Fed boys.
Oh, Federals.
Yeah,
No,
Fed
I know
boys.
they do a lot of that too. The thing with Whitmer was
Yes, it was
definitely
almost all
government.
FBI
Yeah.
agents.
But
No, they're evil. Our government is pure evil, and that's why the Asian countries have had enough, and they're coming together to say enough.
yeah,
Enough is enough.
yeah,
And I can't be mad at them for it because I'm over here. Hey, enough is enough. Can we please rip this son of a bitch down and build a different one? Please. Can we just try it?
yeah.
Just give it a shot.
Yeah, no, things have definitely gotten ugly, but they can always be reformed. Things can always be improved. America is a perfect example of this. It has
Yep.
been reformed. It is newly reformed, not long ago, and it can be done again. But the thing with the government being so terrified of military coming back and creating militias as they do is a bit odd because the founders said directly, "Do that."
You do that, do all of that,
Yeah.
and keep doing it so that they keep afraid of you.
Yeah. I mean, that's the founders directly wanted that to happen. You don't think there was such a thing as PTSD after the Revolutionary
Oh
War?
my god. People don't even
British?
understand 'cause they don't understand because they see modern guns, right? And modern guns are not more powerful than muskets. They're
No.
not.
No.
They're just more accurate.
Accurate.
But
Yeah.
muskets were nasty. You got hit
hmm
by a musket, you were done
Well, it's
basically.
not
If
even
it hit
that.
you,
The British, of course, keep in mind everyone was British at that time, right? But
yeah,
the British, the regulars came in and they would go town to town and they would murder, they put things on fire, they rape, right?
yep,
I mean, you don't think
yep.
there was a shell shock coming out of that war or the Civil War? My God, with the North, Grant was an absolute monster, an
Yeah.
absolute monster. Go back and look at what that dude did, and he's
Drunken rapist.
well, yeah, and they put his statue and name all over the place, but yet they tear
Yep.
down Thomas Jefferson and
Robert E. Lee.
Robert E. Lee. Now, I mean, sure, I mean he led the South, but he was reluctant to do so. But
He only did
Grant,
it to protect his home.
he
That's it.
did.
The
But
only reason.
But I mean, you want to talk about monsters in the Civil War? They're all of them on the Union side, all of them.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
after the war, we saw these disgruntled Confederate soldiers go out and do some crazy things, like Jesse James and stuff like that. There was a lot of those kinds, but that was after the fact. But I'm just saying they talk about.
Clint Eastwood made a movie about him, Outlaw Josie Wales.
Oh
He
yeah,
was a Confederate.
I'll let Josie Wales exactly.
Yeah.
My point being is, uh, you know, we've known stress, and the founders knew exactly about military stress, and they
Yeah.
knew what war could do to a soldier and what it could create in their mind. And yet, still, they insisted that you create your own militia to protect your own people. They insisted upon
Yes.
it. And that's quite interesting, man. They put it in the Second Amendment, dude.
That's right.
The
They're like,
second.
this is number 2.
Right.
That's
Number
how
two.
important it is.
First one, free speech, freedom of religion. Then number two, freedom to own, to be armed and protect yourself, and to create a militia. A lot of people
That's
forget about that. Second Amendment, they keep going on about guns, 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 guns. Are you forgetting the other part of the Second Amendment, which talks about militia?
yeah.
Because they do. They never mention it. It's always about the gun. Well, it's not what it's intended for. I don't know. It's pretty clear. Shall not be infringed, bitch.
Yeah. It's pretty simple English. It's
Yeah.
not. They didn't write it in German. It was English. Um,
Dare
I
you
don't
use
understand the dilemma.
English?
And the best part is when they say things like, this one always gets me, and I don't understand why liberals harp on this one so much, other than the pre-programmed NPCs. They take the words "well regulated" as if that means the government was supposed to regulate it, completely irrelevant to the context of what the Bill of Rights is. The Bill of Rights is saying what the government is not allowed to do, not what the government will do. So why in the fuck would they take, you know what? Wait, hang on. We need to make a rule if the government's allowed to do this right here. This part right here, this one, right at the start of the Second Amendment, we're gonna put that in just cuz.
Well, but it's also missing the point. The Bill of Rights has nothing to do with the government. The
Right.
Constitution is about what the government can do and can't do. The Bill of Rights is about what the people can do. It has nothing to do
Right.
with the government whatsoever. Matter of fact, it's quite
What
the
the
antithesis of it. It's
what the
the Bill of
government is
Rights is all
not
about
allowed to
the
infringe
people.
upon.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it has nothing to do with government. Every one of them says the government cannot do this or that. It's it's
Right.
it's 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 exactly the opposite. It's for the people itself. So trying to insinuate the government into any aspect of the Bill of Rights is ridiculous.
Well, it's also stupid because when they say well regulated, if you just go find the first draft of the damn thing, it doesn't say that. It says maintained and disciplined, meaning regimented, like a military unit. That's what it's talking about. What it actually is saying, and what we should have, is government funded militias, meaning we should all have firearms provided to us by the state. But they don't want to go there. There should be
Yeah,
literal state armories where
there
you
used
can
to be.
go. I know,
How
where
many
you
of you
can go
used to
and
have
collect the
armories
weapon.
in your town? How many of you?
Yep.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
true.
go and collect the weapon and train
Yep,
with it and be ready to use it.
that's what
That is
those.
what the law should do, but they got rid of
That's
that. They
but
got rid of that.
and they turned them all into libraries and shit.
Yep.
But you see those buildings that say armory on them, those stone
Yep.
buildings in your town, those things were
Yep.
literally to hold weapons so that the town folk could come get weapons in case they needed it. That was the whole
Yep.
point. That's why it's called an armory. God.
Yes.
Um, anyway, I gotta go.
Words have meanings,
They do.
Chester. They
They
do.
do. They do. I'm way past my time though. I gotta go. So
Get out of here, Chester.
thank you all very much, and take us out here, dude.
I will say this one. I'll say Chester's favorite one because it's the simplest one come right to my head. Also, today's Mother's Day in America. I know it's pretty late, but if you haven't talked to your mother, or if you are a mother, happy Mother's Day, and tell
Mm,
your mother happy Mother's Day. And
namaste.
also, yeah, we'll namaste on that. Happy Mother's Day, moms. You deserve it.
That was nice.